Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. It is October 5th, and we're doing government and robot today, a weird selection of categories. Also, we have packages.
A weird selection of drinks. This is from Hikari Knight, who is in, I think, Norway.
That's really nicely formatted.
It is nice. They've got like a heading in there, and there's
photos.
God,
there's pictures.
And they're full color.
There's pictures and an explanation. We don't have time to get into all this, but this one is for you. This is Norwegian water. It's like, is it
from the high mountains?
I want to know if it's better than Nestle water. I brought a cup, or you can just drink directly from the bottle. And then Grand's Cola is for Krista.
Oh.
I brought a cup. Actually, I want to try some of it. So however you want to do that. And then Solo Super Orange, whatever, which I'm going to chug on this for probably all 3 episodes because my God, look at that.
But here, okay, so Chris and I, while you were doing stuff, we were looking at these. Here's what we want to solve.
Yeah,
this is water,
Euro
right?
tell us what it means.
What is 3 pant? Because all 3 of these are 3 pant.
They all have this little stamp.
But if this is water, that can't be nutritional information, right?
Yeah, because they all say 3.
Maybe that's the environmental point, like you do this and it's like 3 points of damage.
The bottle. It could be the
plastic bottle. Yeah,
that's a good guess.
Actually, let's look around.
You know what's unfortunate today though? I have Nestle ice cubes, but I got Ice Mountain water, so I can't do a. But I know what Nestle tastes like.
Grand's is an old Norwegian brewery known to take chances when experimenting and creating new brews. And he says, Ryan, we all know you like Nestle water, so I have a bottle of Imstal Norwegian origin water from the Rondane. Hopefully you will like it.
Is that a river?
Yes, I believe so. Probably a glacier, melt glacier or something, because it's Norway. Glacier melt water is the best water. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's controversial.
But yes, if you want more, we'll be able to send another parcel next year. Oh yes, no expense was spared in getting this here, let me tell you. But pro tip, these are all plastic bottles. There was no damage. If you send glass, it's pretty much at least one thing is
One's
not going to
be
make
busted, yeah.
So
that is, I think, in terms of all of the boxes sent, this one was the best preparation.
Yes, this is all of you take note who might be doing this. I want to try something. I'll try that before my orange soda because it just, I don't know, something about it.
Smells like.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were just gonna drink it out of the bottle.
Pour it over his head. Here you go, Krista. Here's the other half of that.
It's very fizzy, despite its halfway.
It doesn't taste fizzy though. Like it's not aggressively fizzy.
Now is does that mean grandmother or is that something else?
Trying to keep it away from the mic because it is. You can hear it fizzing.
Let's ASMR.
It's like
it doesn't taste sweet.
I think
it says no sugar added.
Oh, I think it tastes sweet, but it's like you can hear it fizzing, but it tastes kind of flat.
The sweetness is like the sweetness that you get in like the old Diet Pepsi, like whatever they use.
Yeah, it tastes like Diet. That's a good insight.
The fizziness, there's something wrong with the fizziness in this.
There is. I don't know if that is normal or if that's like a product of the shipping.
Do they infuse carbon dioxide? Is it some type of freon? I don't know.
There's the lack of freedom. That's what you. That's
well, the ingredients are all in another language, so.
Yeah.
You can definitely taste the sadness of the people packaging the material. But no, I kind of like it. It's unlike American soda. Like when American soda hits your tongue, I think the word is like nucleate. It like nucleates into huge bubbles.
I love that
immediately. This does not do that.
Yeah, this is like regular liquid.
There's probably a team at the Coke Corporation who've been working on enhancing that for decades. With terrible chemicals.
Well, the nucleation of American drinks is aggressive. Let me tell you. Does anybody want to try the orange?
I'm not super into orange soda, but
Krista, you got to give us more.
I think Wendell was spot on the money. It tastes like diet soda. Like it's regular, but it tastes like diet.
If it tastes like regular, but it doesn't have the diet additives, this would be a good. I would probably actually drink that because I feel like that just because it's from not America, it's probably safer.
Probably. I mean, it's got ingredients, but they're all in another language. So.
What's
aroma? I recognize aroma.
Wow, that is an aggressive orange scent.
Krista, what's your score?
What's the height of? See, I don't drink soda as much anymore, but when I did, I drank
you're
Pepsi.
a Pepsi girl, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that Pepsi is what, an 8?
Yeah, I'd say that. I would give this like a 5 or 6. It's not. I like that aggressive fizz, and this doesn't have that.
And what is the proper venue to enjoy it?
At a restaurant, and they're like, "Is Grand's Cola okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'll drink Grand's Cola. I'll take that."
When you jump the gun, you got to give the cola a score.
I'd probably give on the new scale. I'd probably give it about a 5 out of 10. Its saving grace is that it does actually quench your thirst. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind that the fizziness is weird. It's probably distracts from other negative qualities, but I could see how you would just, drink this. I think this is what I imagine the cola would have been like in, say, Cold War 1970 Soviet Russia.
You think?
Yeah. That's what it tastes like.
It's good. I like the packaging. It's one color.
But here's the problem.
Reproduces well.
The marketing on there says ice cold. They can't guarantee that.
It's probably, if you don't drink it ice cold, you're in for a bad time.
It also says no added sugar and then an X. Is the X just a graphic element, or is that sugar X?
Is it Cola X?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, extra taste, no sugar. That's according to the...
Oh, yeah, down here, extra. Yeah. Pour and share.
But it's not EXTRA taste. It's XTRA taste, which means nothing.
No sugar added, but lots of chemicals.
Pour and share. In the U.S., this is just like a single serving.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
And we were also talking about, once again, the Europeans like the long, slender bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we like the fatter, or more
These are
girthy
easier to
bottles.
hold. Like, my little tiny hand can get around this.
Some of it might be automobiles, because I noticed that the cup holders, I used to have that really old car, and the cup holders in it were too small even for drive-through.
Are you rolling with 1.5 liter jugs in your cup holder very often?
They fit now. There's no problems. So I don't know.
Ooh, I should save this bottle and use it as a water bottle on trail, because it's a larger size than a
If it's from
2 liter, but not as thick as a 2 liter.
If it's from a European country, it's probably designed to disintegrate naturally. Probably not
Oh,
a great
yeah,
idea.
maybe not great.
Don't store it in your basement. All right, so now we've got the orange.
It has an aggressive orange scent to make up for a lack of orange flavor.
Just throwing shade at these sodas.
It is a very good orange taste. I wonder if it has any sugar in it. There's not really a way for me to tell, is there? No, there's nothing in it. I don't have any idea what those ingredients
Well,
are.
I recognize protein and salt.
Yeah.
Apple juice,
Oh, carbohydrates. That's probably your sugar, right?
0.5 grams.
Carbohydrate. How much was it?
4 kilocalorie, and then 0.5 grams.
No, carbohydrate. That's the line right there.
0.8.
Per, what's the serving?
100
milliliters. How many?
1.5 liters.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to denote that, isn't it?
You can have a shot glass of Solo Super.
Is that their version of the getting around the nutritional facts?
I don't know, maybe.
I think, so I don't know how it is in the EU, but like in America, there are very strict rules about how you display nutritional information on packaging. We had a whole section about that in one of my design classes.
Well, if we were regular YouTubers, this would be an entire video by itself. Because everybody's like, 10, 15 minutes.
What are we at?
8.
All right,
8 minutes.
you better throw a score at us.
This is probably like an 8 out of 10 on the new scale.
Wow.
This is
Doesn't really match what you just described.
It's it doesn't have an aggressive orange flavor, but Orange Crush doesn't really either. Like, one of the things I like about Orange Crush is that it's kind of mild. With this, the smell is very aggressive, but then once you taste it, it's much milder. And this tastes somehow much more natural, whereas Orange Crush is a little bit more chemical tasting, let's say.
How much crush you got left?
you
7
rationing
cans. Yes. 7 cans. But I was able to get 1 case locally, so I've gone through 24 cans in 7 days. That's kind of a lot.
You should have like a fire thing with glass, and it's like break in case of emergency, and there's just an Orange Crush can in there.
Oh, although I will say I wasn't by myself in the 24 cans. I had a helper accidentally, an unwitting helper that also likes Orange Crush. It was like, oh, we have Orange Crush again. And so, like,
Everyone got excited.
yeah.
And then you didn't have the heart to tell them, no, that's my Orange Crush.
Yeah. How was your water?
I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
Ready? M's Doll. Is that how you think you pronounce that? Emsdal?
It's a 3-syllable river.
Just spits it.
Tastes like bottled water.
Well, you have such aggressive.
What an amazing way to dunk on us. Just be like, no, it's fine.
You have such an aggressive taste though about water. Like you fill your ice thing with Nestle.
There's a little bit of a salt taste, which I don't like in my waters.
It's like Dasani.
Dasani is basically syrupless soda.
In a natrium. I don't think that's what that is. I think that's sodium. 1.1.
This one's like 1 grain of salt per thing.
But you can taste that. That's what Dasani does. It's the wrong thing to do.
Oh, there goes the ambulance. Sorry, guys.
It's way better than Dasani. But it does. See, the thing I like about Nestle is the proprietary blend of minerals. Because really, it's just filtered water, isn't it?
Reverse osmosis water. It's not even filtered, is it?
But I would definitely take this over Deer Park, Kroger, no question, Dasani, Aquafina, all the really bad brands, like the major bottler brands. I would take it over all of those for sure.
How do you feel about Smart Water?
Smart Water is distilled.
Do you like it?
No, you shouldn't be always drinking distilled water. You need minerals. Don't buy into the
12 minutes, a new record for level 1.
I like the bottles, the tall bottles.
We were going to have a Linode sponsorship. We'll save that for Wednesday.
What's that guy's name? We should throw him a shout out.
Hikari Knight.
Thank you.
Thanks. This is awesome.
Yes.
Is that a little bit of a weeb name from Norway?
Yeah, the avatar, probably a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you. I might actually order some more of this if I can get it on Amazon.
Solo Super.
Yeah, this is a perfectly reasonable.
That's not a diet soda.
Oh, right. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
That's just a.
I was like, there's nothing in it. And it's like, oh, there's 1,000 servings.
Wouldn't that be crazy if you could easily get
There's
a
15
Norwegian
servings.
soda over an American one like Crush? Like,
That would be amazing.
yeah. What's happening to the shipping in this world?
Nothing good. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better because the chip shortages just keep happening. We find out more and more these companies that just can't get it done. Some of them are just shutting down. I saw there was another automaker just turn it off for 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, the one in Germany shut it down until 2022.
Oh, that's right, the rest of the year. So what do? Well, Mr. Biden has some
We got a
ideas.
plan.
It kind of seems like this is just really overstepping your bounds, because if these people are stockpiling, is that not their right to do so?
Eh.
Can you really compel me to sell you chips? You shouldn't be able to.
White House weighs invoking the defense law to get chip data. This is like a Wartime Defense Production Act.
Cold War.
I thought it was from World War II. They made the Singer Sewing Machine Company make handguns.
Well, I can't scroll because Bloomberg, but I'm fairly confident it's Cold War.
Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I always assume it's World War II because that's when we did all the spin up for that.
The article makes it sound like, oh my gosh, the automotive industry is suffering, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's focused on the automotive industry. They are squealing like stuck pigs, but they did this to themselves. Oh, you can't get chips. And it's like, yeah, you should have squeezed your supplier to the point that it was more profitable for them to do other things.
Yeah, but they got a strong lobby, don't they?
They do.
Robocalls have definitely stepped up again. For a while there during the summer, mine went way down. And now they're back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And there's a new scam. I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes when you pick it up, you'll just catch the very tail end of press 1 to accept. They're third partying you and trying to get you to greenlight some kind of charge.
Ooh.
Which is bad because my way of dealing with those was always just to press 1 and put the phone down. And I waste exactly the same amount of time that they wasted for me, right? Because it rings back to them. But now you can't do that. Well, maybe we'll get some relief, but when you really read into it, no, we won't.
Phone companies must now block carriers that didn't meet the FCC robocall deadline. However, this article is almost entirely about the loopholes that make it not actually like the thing that it describes in the headline. This is the stir and shaken standard that we talked about like a year ago. it's now supposed to be implemented, which is some basic authentication against caller ID spoofing. And yeah,
I can't remember what they called it, but there are certain smaller phone companies that are gateways. Yeah, if you're a gateway for a foreign call to come in, you're exempt from this, which has got to be 90% of them, right?
Right.
So
it also was there was some other kind of exemption that was even more or along the same lines of like, why did we do this? This is so dumb.
It was smaller. If you're under a certain number of subscribers, you get away from it as well.
Oh,
So obviously they'll flock to those, but then you can't be too successful, right? You got to ride that line completely. Huawei is still forbidden from U.S. networks, and we actually, when we made that law, a lot of people brought up and are like, wait a minute, what about the stuff that's already there? A lot of it is already there. That stuff is cheap. We use a lot of it. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to replace it. And I guess they're just going to throw money at that situation.
The U.S. is going to open a program to replace Huawei equipment in U.S. networks. I checked eBay before the newscast, and you can get Hikvision cameras 4K on eBay right now for about $50 each. IP cameras. I expect it to get worse in the coming weeks. It was Hikvision, Dahua, Huawei, and a couple other companies that are on the list. So they're not handing out the money yet, but you can apply for it, and as they get money, it'll be allocated however they determine. Mostly it's for communication equipment, but it also does seem like it's going to apply to camera equipment as well.
It's going to be a lot to do. A lot of, some people would argue, unnecessary work, but who knows? The Chinese are definitely spying on us.
Well, you definitely need to get the Hikvision stuff on eBay now, because eventually they're going to, like, people are going to buy it on eBay and then return it for money, and then buy it on eBay again and return it for money. Maybe not, because this program is mostly for, like, small, medium government offices, but, you know, and then they'll destroy it, which is unfortunate, because then we won't have $50 4K security cameras.
Progress. Well, the FTC, if you recall, during the latter parts of the Trump administration, we had a lot of the FCC under Pi was refusing to do things. And so more and more people were calling on the FTC to do those things. And the FTC was like, guys, we don't do this. Like,
well, we're struggling.
We don't do this.
What's a computer?
It's not our thing. We don't govern this. Why don't you talk to these other people? But now we got Lena Khan and the new guy in there. I can't ever remember his name. And they're like, hardcore, exactly what the Biden administration wants. So more than ever, they're saying, no, guys, listen, this is your new job. And it seems like the old school people in the FTC are just like, what? We already have a bunch of stuff to do. There's a rules laid out about what we should do. None of this is in it. And I'm just like, no, you will do it.
The FTC weighs new online privacy rules. The agency is looking at strengthening rules that govern how digital businesses collect user data. Yes, this is definitely fallout from a Jeep Pie, because the FCC should be doing this. Lord help us.
But FCC is Rosenworcel now, right? Or did they get rid of her? She was interim.
No, she's still there.
Did they choose an actual leader?
I don't think so. Not yet.
I mean, she's in the same camp, isn't she?
Yes. It's going to be a two-pronged attack now.
No, that makes sense.
The lobbyists that, were having Ajit Pai abdicate his responsibilities through confusion. Like, what is it called? Like, this feels like something that happens in Pokemon or something, where it's like you cast confusion and now everyone is confused.
It's super effective.
But it's sort of the opposite, because now the corporations that created that situation in the first place are facing double scrutiny.
But also, when you hit a point where, because some of that Ajit Pai stuff, he was, doing it for the wrong reasons, but he was right. The letter of the law says they shouldn't be involved in that stuff. So now when they hit that and they get pushback, they're like, well, just call the FTC, have them do it.
And the FTC's like, sounds good, more power.
Why not? When that goes wrong in 3 years, when there's another Ajit Pai, because there's going to be a backlash. Maybe it'll take 6 years, who knows? But you're going to get another Ajit Pai in there, and he's going to have an insane level of power. Just think about that. It's never good. Never good. Huawei has also had their CFO trapped in Canada for quite some time.
Fighting extradition to the United States.
3 years. 3 years for the wheels of justice, and they have finally stopped turning.
The U.S. agrees not to pursue fraud charges against the Huawei CFO. Ming Wanzhou pled not guilty in an arrangement that will end her 3-year stay in Canada. But this headline is like the worst headline they could have possibly picked. What actually happened is she agreed to say that all of this stuff happened in exchange for prosecutors dropping the charges against her. All of the stuff that she just said, yes, really happened, is now a huge problem for Huawei.
But she didn't admit guilt. She admitted it happened, but not guilt. There's another layer here. I don't know if that story went into it. You know what else happened because of this?
The Canadian citizens?
A prisoner exchange. That's what this really was. So she got to go back to China, and those Canadians that China was holding since she was trapped in the country. God, those guys were there for 3 years too.
Yes.
What do you think was more comfortable? The Canadian home arrest or the Chinese prison?
Oh, I think we're going to learn. There's a spoiler alert. I think it's in the nonsense section. Maybe not, but there was a human rights lawyer that did not have a good time in China.
You think he's going to leave a bad TripAdvisor review?
Yeah, well, certainly the Canadians have.
So that does resolve that. At least those Canadians get to go home, and she doesn't have to worry anymore, although I don't think she was very worried. Up in space, things are about to heat up because the private space programs they've all sort of proven themselves. They've all made it to space, and now the fighting can really start.
U.S. Space Force has awarded $87.5 million to Rocket Lab, SpaceX, Blue Origin, and ULA for next-gen rocket testing. They basically said, we don't want a headache and lawsuits from any of you here. Have $100 million. Go.
So it's going to be broken up. Everybody's going to have their own job. Blue Origin's going to do the cryogenic fluid management. That's kind of a small portion for them. Also, look at those numbers. How do you feel if you're SpaceX? You're the only one that didn't get 24.3.
SpaceX knows that they don't need that much money to do whatever it is that they're asked to do.
Combustion stability analysis and testing of its Raptor rocket engine. That's just what they're going to be doing anyway.
Yeah, it's free money, basically.
So that's cool. This is part of the whole, idea of build a giant space station and NASA just owns one piece of it. So it can be a universal space station for everybody.
Neat.
But listen, if you dirty up dishes in that space station, you better clean them. Because if not, international incident.
There's just bits of crumbs and food floating around in the space station. It's like, who left this out?
The decomposing food literally is a health hazard, and the astronauts may suffocate.
Well, this is a hell of a story. Yahoo News got a lot of details in this one. There was a lot to give, too. And we kind of already knew that they were doing stuff like this, but the gory details
Not to this level of detail.
Yeah.
They're really disturbing.
Kidnapping. Oh, I lost the headline. This is kidnapping, assassination, and a London shootout inside the CIA's secret, is it really though, war plans against WikiLeaks. And
It was at the time.
Well, yeah, I guess it was at the time. But this is another one of those situations where the conspiracy theorists were saying it was exactly this bad. And it was actually worse. Like, I read this and I read some of the conspiracy theories, and I remember what I was thinking at the time. This is much worse. Much worse. Much darker. And I really think that now that it's come out as truth, because the conspiracy thing existed previously, this will be treated as less of a bombshell than it is. This is, flagrant human rights violations by, quote unquote, first world country. It's deeply disturbing.
Well, we've certainly proven that getting labeled as a conspiracy theory and then being proven true later has no real impact on the narrative.
Yeah.
You can just do that all day long.
That's crazy.
So that's what they do. So it works really well. Now, they talk about Trump, obviously, but this didn't start with Trump. It started with Obama. Trump was all in on it. Trump hated Assange. And Mike Pompeo had a blood rage after the leak. And he, you should read this just to hate Mike Pompeo. What a piece of garbage.
It is deeply disturbing that these people are in power.
And they were
And
all
yet
about
not surprising.
There, a couple of times, they were afraid that if they did certain things that would damage him too much, it might hurt the case. And that's the only reason they didn't do it.
Obviously.
But listen, he broke the law, right? And when you break the law, you get punished. That's just how it works in this country. And you shouldn't think that you're above it, no matter who you are.
131 federal judges broke the law by hearing cases where they had a financial interest. Spoiler alert, nothing is going to happen to these judges. They did actually do the math here. 2/3 of the time, the judge ruled in such a way that it would be for their financial benefit. But this is a situation where judges own stocks in companies as part of their like retirement portfolio. So they could say, well, we didn't really know, but 2/3 of the time, some of them definitely knew.
But sometimes it was just their spouse as well, just like Pelosi. So it could be a situation they're like, well, they were trading and I didn't really know, but you have to know. You have to pay attention to that.
It's kind of your job to know if you have conflicts of interest, right?
I put $500 into that thing that is leaking the Pelosi trades, and it's up 13%.
What, do they have an index fund?
I don't know what. No, it's like he just has the thing, and it's like, oh, they bought this, and I was like, okay, I'll go buy that too, 13%.
Now might be a bad time to be messing around in the stock market.
Probably.
Although hyperinflation will push stocks up. So
How long do you want to push it, though, before you get slapped back?
yeah, you have to worry about the catastrophic failure. Well, what was this one? Oh, the Exascale thing. Is that what this is? Yeah. The Exascale supercomputer in America number 1. We're getting it.
The Advanced Scientific Computing Advisory Committee, ASAC, they held September 29th and 30th, revealed that the Frontier supercomputer is currently being installed at Oak Ridge. So racks and racks and racks and racks and racks and racks of AMD gear have already been delivered. More is on the way, and they've met their goal. This is the one, we talked about this on Level 1 News like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Zen first launched from AMD, and they're delivering. It looks like this is going to be the most efficient supercomputer in the world, too. By the time they get it up and running, it's going to be like 29 megawatts for 1.5 exaflops, and the current record holder is like 20 megawatts for 1 exaflop. So I think we're gonna exceed that in both compute and power efficiency.
We're going to dunk on those communists. I can't wait. Actually, it'd be probably used for evil. Well, Google, the EU continues to come after them. In this case, the EU came after them for a very big number. Usually Google's just like, whatever, we got all the money in the world. But this one, it was just like, oh, I felt that.
You can't do that every year. Come on.
That was a little bit of a Charlie horse right there. I don't like that. So what do they say? Do they say, no, we're innocent? No, they can't say that because they're not innocent. They're super guilty. All they can say is, look over there.
Google, in fight against a record EU fine, slams regulators for ignoring Apple. It's really interesting what the EU has done. They've created this environment where it's basically illegal to do business the way that Google does business. And also a little bit Apple. They're not wrong. And a little bit other companies. Google, yes, has been singled out. But, if they're not allowed to do business there, do you leave completely? Do you just pay the fine and move on?
Well, you definitely don't snitch. You never snitch.
Here in America, we call it regulatory capture. This strikes me as the EU just sort of stumbling and trying to figure out a way to do regulatory capture in a way that it looks like they're being good for their citizens, but it's probably going to be the same result.
The regulators are horrible. Google is horrible. Apple is horrible, but they didn't need to be dragged into this. They have their own problems.
I was really excited for the headline, and I read the story, and I was angry.
To this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
because the headline is the story.
The Germans, well, they had a reason for doing this. Because it turned out that some people did some private investigation, and they were like, yeah, this is definitely phoning home. For sure, this is phoning home. And so the regulators said, all right, we'll look.
German IT security watchdog examines the Xiaomi mobile phone. That's it. That's the story. We've saved you a few minutes. We've wasted so much of your time this episode. Allow us to give some of it back.
They will report whether or not it's phoning home. They're not done yet.
We will report that too.
So it's not that, who was that? Was that
Reuters.
CD? Oh, Reuters. It's not that Reuters left that out. They're not done yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will by.
We saved you from looking at a paywall from Reuters, though.
Yeah, that was one of the stories where I was like, is this some kind of weird paywall? I don't understand. No, it was
there's just nothing there, yeah.
Eftpos?
Eftpos?
Eftpos? Terrible name for a company. Jesus Christ. They do digital identity and Australian, which is how you know that this is going to be dystopian AF.
Eftpos granted government accreditation as the first private ID exchange operator. So this is Connect ID for you Australians. Run away. Run far away. Far
can't
away.
Run into the
There is
outback.
no escape.
They're the only one right now.
Well, the government has versions of it. This is the private one, which means it's got extra security. Actually, I
I'm
probably
sure.
would. I'd trust that. Well, wouldn't you trust Microsoft over the federal government? I would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good choice, but.
It's a good point.
And Russia has these tech companies that start up, and every time they get a good startup going in Russia, they get a bunch of flack, and they're like, all right, we got to go somewhere else. And that's what happened with these guys. Where'd they go to? Singapore?
Singapore, yep.
But Russia was like, we don't know if we like that.
Russian authorities arrest cybersecurity giant group's IB CEO on treason charges. So these guys were criticized in America like last year or the year before. They moved their operation, more than that, more years ago than that. But anyway, they moved their operation to Singapore. It was a big deal. They hired a bunch of people in Singapore. And now Russia has said, because you're working with people outside the country, that is a threat. And a lot of the reasoning here seemed really similar to the story that we did last week or the week before on the NSA contractors. So the U.S. NSA. Some contractors went to work for, the UAE?
And vice versa. Because we had another story about...
And then it was like, you can't sell munitions, and they were in trouble. This seems like that. And this is probably also going to make other Russian IT companies not want to work with any other state agencies.
It's funny because you literally can't go anywhere in the world that won't anger one of the big powers.
Yeah.
So we're really speeding headlong toward that separated internet, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, that's sad. Speaking of separated internet,
Yeah, Russia, it's interesting because, like on one hand, they censor and they control, and on the other hand, they complain about control and censorship.
Russia threatens retaliation after YouTube has deleted the RT Germany account. It was deleted for misinformation about the thing.
Oh yeah. I think there was something else they did though. So they're saying that, hey, you can't do the things that you're doing for China and even for us sometimes, and then do this. It doesn't make any sense. Where do you draw the line? And oh no, there was another story. Did I?
oh, we're all mixed up now.
Oh no, those are two Russian stories. I'm sorry. So yeah, RT has been deleted, and
Deleted.
it's part of YouTube's new rollout, which we'll talk about in the social section.
Oh boy.
Now here's a picture that, you know what, pretty soon this might get you deleted from YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer this has left to be allowed anywhere, but Anonymous, looking to stir up the hornet's nest, and boy did they, decided to post it.
Anonymous posts Taiwan flag and national anthem on China government site. Guys, please don't do this. We need Taiwan in our future if we're going to survive as the human race.
But is this, could this not be something they're doing to try and protect Taiwan? Like, is doing nothing not going to result in bad things for Taiwan?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, it is kind of kicking the hornet's nest, but also the hornet's nest deserves to be kicked. So
Everybody was really surprised with how aggressively the Hong Kong thing happened, and there was nothing anybody could do.
I mean, there's stuff people could do, but it would escalate very quickly.
What can I do?
Not us, but like world governments could do stuff, but it would be bad stuff.
Yeah, they'd go to war with China.
Yeah,
It's
it's not really a solution, or it's a solution, but maybe causes a lot more problems than it solves.
Well, if you're looking for a replacement for China in terms of industrial output and low-cost stuff, then maybe you're going to have to look for India. But India is also getting past the emerging market phase, and they're being their own power now. And that means that they also get to go after big tech companies.
Google is suing India over its Indian antitrust watchdog for an investigation report leak. So there was an investigation report that the antitrust watchdog did,
Which was truthful.
and
Yeah.
Google helped them, and it had some pretty damning stuff in it, and then that report leaked. And Google was like, that wasn't part of the deal.
So Google was like, How dare you let the world find out this about us? It's weird, though, like, you're suing them in an Indian court, right?
Seems like that wouldn't be very effective.
I don't think they're going to do very good there. Moving on to the robot section, and it's weird to do robots on Mondays, isn't it?
It is.
We didn't have a lot of government news this week. Several new AIs doing interesting things this week. How about a little music?
Beethoven never finished his 10th symphony, but computer scientists just did. Can we teach an AI how to think like Beethoven? This article explains how they
what a great photo.
Looked at how his technique was for putting together the other symphonies and so they built an AI specifically to do this. It wasn't just like, oh, let's just load this up in TensorFlow and be done. And he did have some notes about his 10th symphony, like what he wanted to do with it a little bit.
I love how when you think of the classical masters, we think of them as these larger than life characters, like men who did things that we can't do anymore. It's just a talent that. But look at this chicken scratch.
And yet, that was enough.
So these kinds of notes were the only thing the AI had. There was also a team of students that did quite a bit of glue behind the scenes. It wasn't just the AI looking at this.
I don't know. This is a lot more to go on than, like, say, Fermat's last theorem.
But if you check out the one tab, you can listen to it. They have it embedded here.
And you should definitely do that because...
It seemed like, if you sat me down and you played 10 pieces of Beethoven music, I wouldn't know to pick that one out.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll build an AI to do the Level 1 news automatically after we're gone.
It's all just sad dystopian, but it's all just censored.
But who's the audience? Who's the audience for that?
Who's the audience for the Beethoven's 10th Symphony? I don't know. They're pretty loyal. Oh, well, they will all have died too, I guess.
I think there's always going to be a market for Beethoven, right?
The Level 1 news is reduced to just sad trombone noises the entire time.
And then, like, the sound of it being bleeped because it's censored. And this article not available for your country.
Well, that's not the only kind of art that AI can help us with. Although I wonder, did this AI not just make us all a little bit sadder for no reason?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have been better off with the lie?
Yeah. An AI study suggests that a London gallery has been exhibiting a fake for years. So it's an art forgery. This was, I don't even remember.
Oh, what's the name of this painting, Krista?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
It was like Samson and something?
Samson and Delilah.
Delilah, yeah. So...
Peter Paul Rubens.
He, the way they did it was pretty awesome. They took a bunch of his work and they zoomed way in on the work to look at, like, the brush strokes and the paint techniques and stuff like that. So they made a million little samples of the artwork and then fed that to an AI and then made a million little samples of this one and fed it to the AI. The AI was like, this is not the same technique.
A lot of times they'll look at, like, the underpainting as well. And that's a good way to tell if a student did it or if the actual artist did it.
What if he was just feeling crazy that day? He's like, you know what? I'm going to use my left hand.
The AI says it's fake. We must listen to the AI.
Or he was high on opiates or, something.
It was a particularly beautiful spring day and he painted outside.
And he was fighting a bee the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like,
Was that the 1700s? Did we have opiates other than opium yet?
No.
We might have. Probably not.
This really grows on you. The more you drink, the
You've
more
been drinking
it's
a
like,
lot.
You gonna finish that before the end of all 3 news episodes?
God, I hope not. Because,
That's a lot.
God, that's a lot.
Be all keyed up later. Well, central bankers, I would challenge you to watch a Federal Open Market Committee live stream and not want to kill yourself because it's just so boring and they're wasting all of our time and they're just lying and flowery speech. And if you let a computer look at that, guess what it says?
Bank of Russia's computers, Russia computer says that officials must speak more simply.
But how can we lie effectively by doing that?
How do we confuse people? Hide our meaning if we speak simply.
I wonder what the interest rate is in Russia. I have to look that up later. Well, there's one thing that I know for sure, and that is weather.com gets it wrong a lot. A lot. So many times. We need a better way to predict weather, and maybe, thanks to robots, we now have it.
AI can predict if it will rain in 2 hours' time. Well, I mean, that's not amazing, but that's better than most.
why would you ever use this when you could just look at the cows and see if they're by the fence?
What if you live in a place where there's no cows?
That doesn't exist.
What are New York City people going to do?
To get some cows and just corral them out on the street next to a fence post.
Fill Central Park with cows. Put a camera on them. Amazon had their big day. They were talking about a bunch of stuff. Most of it no one cares about, but a new robot is interesting, is it not? And we now know its name.
Amazon just revealed its first home robot. Here's what it's like to use it.
Astro.
The person internally, like there was an internal report. Are we going to go to that story next?
Yes.
Is that the next story?
But first, we should say that it's $999.
This story isn't a real good story either because it actually has a telescoping camera. It can like make itself really tall.
And so what it does is scopes out your house, and it finds a point in each room which it considers the most visible spot in the room. Like if I stand here, I can see the most of the room. Then it goes to that spot, and it looks and it sees who's in the room, and it tries to learn those people's faces and how they behave and stuff. Then it'll go from room to room to the most visible spot and monitor the home. If it finds a stranger, it'll follow them around.
Oh.
This is what we had a lot of lawsuits about when Korean store owners were doing this to certain people.
I like that they named him Astro because they're like, we had such a lashback to Alexa, which was a real human name. So they picked a name that people wouldn't name their kids.
Do you think that went into it? They probably did discuss that, right?
I bet it was, yeah.
I mean, do we really think that? Okay, let's fast forward this technology 10 or 15 years. Loss prevention in Walmart has a micro drone that is observing you, and it's like, oh, you're stealing something, and of course, it's going to observe certain demographics. Of course it is. And then they place a micro tag. This is just the size of a grain of dust, but it's basically a tracker, so the police can track you down and then deal with the theft or whatever.
A better way to do it, actually. I mean,
it's literally going to be here as soon as we have the technology.
Aside from the racial profile.
I was going to say, they can really make sure that you can't exist in public without buying something that way.
Yeah.
So, those are the facts that Amazon has given us about Astro. But we were given more facts about Astro that they did not want to give us.
Leaked documents show how Amazon's Astro robot tracks everything you do. The headline... So the thing that leaked doesn't actually say that in those words, but it does say that. And it says that it doesn't really work as advertised, and it's basically a huge fail. And oh my gosh, the mast thing that extends makes this thing impossible to ship. It also talks about how this can be an accessibility device, like you could check in on your elderly relative and pilot this thing around like a telepresence thing. But the people that talked about how that use case is basically worthless.
And the recognition has bias. What kind of bias? You guessed it, racial. The best kind of bias that seemingly all robots must be cursed with. So yeah, there's probably going to be some more unpleasant headlines. Although you got to think that the Amazon product team sat down and they were like, all right, well,
how can we cover this up?
Well, not even that. How much money are we going to make versus the PR disaster? And it still went to market. So that just goes to show you. I bet that is going to be a hot item this Christmas.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
It's so expensive. I feel like it's not going to be adopted widely yet.
There are only enough parts in the world to make 5.
Right. We're wasting so many chips on this trash.
Of course, I said that about like Alexa and stuff. So I was like, who's going to do that? And lots of people.
Let's make a choice here, guys. Global supply chain choice. Here's our options. We can have 30 more Toyota Camrys or this Astro robot.
Astro, obviously.
What should we do?
Amazon's in a better spot to be able to buy those chips, so I think we know how this is going to go.
And they're probably in a better spot to lobby, right?
Yeah.
Well, IBM, a while back, we actually talked about both the launch and the failure. They had this autonomous boat, and they were like, it's going to do the Mayflower trip all by itself. And it got out, not even past, I don't even think it got into international waters, and one of the engines broke down. And it was like, hey, bro, who's going to fix the engine? Nobody. There's nobody on board.
After the IBM failure of the autonomous boat, it's ready to cross the Atlantic again. They spent some time redesigning and rethinking how this thing might work.
I don't know if I believe it'll make it or not. I think it might not. Also, how great would it be if the Somali pirates got on that boat and they were just like, what's going on here?
There's
Free
no
boat.
one here.
And then they'd start prying off the solar panels. We all have seen a lot of great fiction, and the whole idea that there's Kurzweil, he's going to die before it happens. I'm sad to say. No matter how far he pushes it, he's going to die before it happens. But this is the kind of thing that he's hoping to hold out for.
Samsung hopes to be able to copy-paste, quote-unquote, the brain into 3D chip networks. This picture isn't as good. Samsung actually released a picture of neural tissue growing on the chip. And it was just neurons growing on silicon. And like the neurons could fire and the silicon could monitor it. Samsung is hoping that neurons will somehow be able to deal with this interface and can turn it into a brain-computer interface, and also eventually just replacing the brain with computers without really understanding the mechanism of the brain.
Now that's going to cause you to need about 100 trillion. I don't know. Is that transistors? I don't think it's even transistors. They refer to it as memory units. We are nowhere close to that. We don't have anywhere. I mean, even if we just dedicated one giant building to be Jeff Bezos' brain, I don't think we could do it.
No.
So you can forget it. You and Kurzweil.
This brain just thinks about money all the time.
Yeah, well, he's good at that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He does the. Maybe Jeff Bezos is the only person who actually has access to The Secret. Remember The Secret? Oprah's
Oh.
thing? It's like The Secret was you just think about stuff and it happens.
Yeah, well, see, if you just materialize good things in your life. I was like, I don't think that's true.
Why are all these people thinking about cancer? And today is actually our shortest number of stories for the week, which is weird. We usually don't do that for Monday. And that means that we get the Facebook Marketplace. I actually did a little editorializing. I chose it because nobody else was in here at the time, although one of them had already been taken down.
Oh, bummer.
And I feel like this is definitely weird.
Yeah, antique composite and wood creepy doll body.
It's creepy.
They're selling it for $5. I think it was originally like 10 or 15. And they've since reduced the price.
Look how messed up the fingers are.
I don't understand where this came from.
Some kid obviously enjoyed this a whole lot. And that's why it's so messed up.
It is weird.
It's a complex thing.
I like that they put like measurements and stuff on it too. They're like, here, do you need to know?
Also, look how rustic and nice this backdrop is.
They spent time on this listing. This wasn't like let me just throw this up on Marketplace real quick. I wonder if they tried to sell it on like eBay or something and didn't get any results.
That'd be tough to ship that, wouldn't it?
It would.
You think there's anything that you're not allowed to put in the mail inside of that? Just stuff with asbestos.
It also says the leg feet remnants are, does it say compatible? I can't say if that's compatible or compostable.
Composite.
Oh,
Wow, Krista.
I can't. It's too far away. It's too far away, chat.
The rotted remains of some socks are present.
Great.
High
Quality.
quality. One week we should just do a video where we call some of these people and be like, what's wrong with you?
Just see what we can talk them down to.
Yeah.
So listen, I'll give you $2.50 and the rest of this orange soda. But
People get real pissy about that on Marketplace. They're like, price is firm.
Bologna sandwich? You want a bologna sandwich for it? All right.
How about fried bologna sandwich? That doubles the value.
Also, clicking on this kind of ruined my Marketplace recommendations. So now I have a lot of creepy doll content popping up now.
Great.
Are you interested in this? No. Thanks, though.
Now that I'm looking at it, I see this fold right here. I think that's the sock.
That's the sock remnant.
What kind of elephant sock is that? That's giant.
I don't know. It's weird that it doesn't have a head or full legs.
Truly horrific.
All right. Well, chat, that's it for today. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Woo!
Bye. Hello, everybody. Today is October 6th. We're doing business and security news, and Wendell is still deeply enjoying the orange soda.
Hikari Nights solo. We are halfway through. I don't think I'm going to make it through all 3 episodes.
That's
Of course,
not-
we did run long.
You're not even close to half. The taper makes it look different. You're going to have to get below the label before you're even close to half.
Okay, well, we might make it then. It's very satisfying. And also, we're kicking off Devember. It's not, usually it's December, but listen, development projects, the deadlines slip, things go crazy. Feel good, do something. End of year. November is kicking off, and it's sponsored this year by Linode. And there's a coupon below. You can get a Linode credit. And this episode of the news is sponsored by Linode, as is every episode of the news through the rest of the year.
Ooh.
Thank you, Linode.
Now let me give you a word of caution and a word of encouragement. All right, last year we accepted projects that were not complete. Not this year. You must complete your project. Now that's the word of caution, but the word of encouragement, how many total completed entries did we have last year?
20.
No, completed.
8, 3.
I think everybody who actually completed something got something.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. If you're thinking about, well, I don't know, I'm not going to have time. If you can finish it, and it's something, and it can't be something like I made index.html. It's going to have to be more than that. But if you can do it, very decent chance for prizes. What was the worst prize we gave away other than a T-shirt last year?
I don't know.
Like a motherboard or something.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
So you can get something decent here.
Yeah. And if you're not a programmer, you can still play on the game side of it because Linode has sponsored a game server. We haven't set that up yet. That's going to be in probably another week or two.
But that's the design portion.
Yeah.
So, Krista, what game other than Minecraft, and maybe the answer is none, can we apply a design challenge to?
Engagement challenge.
I'll say I really like Parkitect, but Parkitect's not collaborative. The joy of the Minecraft server was that it became very, very collaborative. And that's why I kind of enjoyed that last year, was seeing how people built together. But
Well, we also would have no way to vet whether they really did it. It has to be a multiplayer. It has to be a server.
yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. We'll think about that some more. Chat if you
Let
have
us know,
recommendations. Yeah.
And maybe it will just be Minecraft, but we're going to have to think of a new angle on it this year. And don't post 10 million mods. We're not doing that. That's ridiculous.
Turns out a lot of mods have scalability problems when we're talking about that many people.
I mean, we got to the point on the old Minecraft server where we had so many item farms and stuff, which are just vanilla redstone creations, that it was slowing the server down. So
Yeah.
something to think about.
These are sick people who are going to be using this. You got to think about that. And they're still building on it.
Yeah, it's still
What?
very active. So if you're interested in Minecraft, go check it out.
It's crazy what they're up to. Or wait till the next one. Do you think all of those people will be committed to that one, or will they immediately jump over to the next one?
Probably jump to the next one because it'll it's a new world, new thing.
And people will look at this.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. You need the attention. Well, Google, they made some statements. For a long time, Google has kind of been coasting on being the #1 search, right? And for a long time, you couldn't even get close. But I think some of the upstarts like DuckDuckGo are getting better and better. And they're getting good enough that you can kind of ignore Google. So Google has to do something.
Google's next search phase is context is king. Google says search is still far from solved. So this is basically Google wanting to have a conversation with you. When you put in some keywords, it's like, is this what you want? And it's like, no, I meant something more like this. And it's like, oh, okay, I can figure that out.
They've definitely kind of done this with images. Their image search now offers here's related keywords to what you're looking for. Their image search is far better than DuckDuckGo's. If I look for a very specific meme, Google Images is going to find it faster.
They're going to have to also take precautions to make sure that people can't use this for stalking, because you'll take a picture of somebody and then Google will be like, oh, that's so-and-so, blah, 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 lives here. And it's like, well, that's basically Clearview AI.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get someone murdered.
And it's going to be annoying when you have to convince, if you're searching for something that has a popular meaning and an unpopular meaning, it's probably going to be a pain. Although it probably already was.
Yeah.
So, Google is also tied up in a lawsuit with Microsoft, and it has an interesting defense in that case.
Google tells judges that it's so popular, it's Bing's top search term. So it's not a monopoly, Judge. We've just taken over the hearts and minds of so many people that everybody wants us, even the people that aren't using us.
I feel like the judge here, so it's like, that's just a humble brag. What are you talking about?
But it does prove that Microsoft is forcing people to use a browser that they would rather not use if the first thing they use that browser for is to get the other one.
Yeah.
Or the first thing they use that search for is to search for a competitive search engine, which is just hilarious. Oh, they are certainly evil, but then so is Microsoft. Microsoft, however, is looking to change its image a little bit, and it's looking to finally maybe open up Now, they do want a walled garden, but they want more people to have the keys to the gate.
Microsoft opens its Windows Store up to third-party app stores. Amazon and Epic Game Store will be the first to integrate into the Microsoft Store. Now, here's why this is a little different than, say, something like Steam and the way that Steam does things. Is in order for Epic and Amazon and other companies to participate in the Windows Store, they have to follow Microsoft rules with respect to how applications are distributed. MSIs, controls, things like that. I'm sure because they're media companies, there's going to be a way around it to install rootkits because everybody wants the de novo and everybody wants that kind of thing, which is unfortunate. But Microsoft is providing ways for people to be able to do that through their app store. So it's going to be a multi-app store experience after all.
Aren't they just going to try to use Game Pass for that?
I think that I think that they're not going to force Game Pass with this. I think they're going to, when you install Epic or whatever, it's just going to install their own little launcher, and so you'll still end up with 17 launchers at the bottom, which no one wants.
No, but Game Pass already does that. Like
Yeah.
Game Pass, you get EA games with Game Pass, but you still have to launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steam is like that with some games too. It's really annoying.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll ever move regular games into the Windows Store. Have they already done that? Because Game Pass will also sell you games.
I don't know.
I think they're probably trying to move everything over to that because they're trying to consolidate and they're trying to do the cross-play Xbox stuff.
I think it's also kind of that Microsoft saw the lawsuit with Apple, and they're like, one, they want to avoid that, and two, they're figuring that Epic is going to escalate, and now Epic has a pretty good thing where they can say, look, Microsoft is doing it in a multi-cloud kind of a way. Why can't Apple?
But it's interesting. Microsoft is going to let the developers keep 100% of what comes in through this new program, but not games. So they definitely want to treat gaming differently. Makes sense. Valve is they're seeing a lot of success with their Index headset, but it's big, and for most people, what is it, $1,000 for the base kit?
Give or take, yeah.
Plus, you're going to buy the video card. You're going to be out another at least $500.
Oh, more than that in this pandemic. Yeah.
So a lot of people are looking at maybe a simpler kind of VR.
New standalone, quote-unquote, VR headset from Valve has been teased by Deep Steam VR File Dive. Some info has been hidden in plain sight as far back as January, but will it ever actually launch?
You have to take a big performance hit on that.
I wonder if it's going to be something for the, Steam Deck. Use it on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely. But see, the lower resolution doesn't help you there.
That's true.
You're just going to have a really crappy VR helmet with a low battery life. Taco Bell. Oh, man, it's been a long time since I've had Taco Bell. Maybe I should get some. But maybe when I go to Taco Bell, maybe I don't want to pay with this filthy Federal Reserve currency. Maybe I want to pay with something much more meme-like.
Paying for Taco Bell with Dogecoin may soon be a reality. Because Taco Bell.
I was sitting there thinking, like, who asked for this? But I'm sure someone's excited out there somewhere.
I'm really excited for Taco Bell's concept restaurant where it's like you drive under the Taco Bell and it's multiple lanes of drive-through. That's really what they need.
But this isn't just necessarily Taco Bell taking crypto. It's this other company, and we can't scroll because Bloomberg. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're doing direct payments with crypto. So it's going to be like your regular drive-through where you just show them your phone and all that stuff. But when you go through, it's like, oh, okay, you got a Monero wallet and a Bitcoin wallet and an Ethereum wallet. Which one of these do you want to pull from? And then you do it, and then it goes through.
If the Starbucks app were a little faster, you could do that at Starbucks now because they have some third-party API integration, and you can pay with a QR code right now at Starbucks.
I think most places will let that happen, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like the app orders.
Yeah. They just scan your phone, and you're like, oh, okay, sounds good.
But there's still going to be a transaction fee.
Yeah.
So why?
Here's your $12 of Taco Bell and the $800 transaction fee.
Or, it's going to be $12 at Taco Bell with your 20-cent transaction fee. And in 10 years, you're going to look back at that 20 cents when it's $2,000.
I
shouldn't have got that Taco Bell.
Was New World the game that was roasting the 3080s?
Yes.
So
still is.
During the beta, we found out that New World was maybe a little bit risky. But they were like, nah, we're going to fix it before the launch. Well, now we've had the launch.
For flagging Amazon Games Unit, New World, quote-unquote, has to be our breakthrough, which is a headline that does not make any sense at all grammatically. I have no idea what that's saying. But Amazon is saying we really have to make New World like our make or break title. Everybody has to love this. It's got to be great. And oh boy, it's killing video cards.
It was trending on Twitch yesterday, but that may be Amazon, who owns Twitch, maybe manipulating the numbers or maybe giving away free copies. I'm not sure.
Just a bit.
I have not looked into it too much because I'm not a big MMO guy, but it didn't seem like it was anything groundbreaking to me. It looked like people were chopping wood and fighting wolves.
Which
Yeah.
they've done in MMOs forever.
Right.
It's like Valheim, except it's from the mind of Jeff Bezos.
Well, I don't think it's quite like Valheim. I don't think
You
it's
chop down the tree and money comes out of it.
I don't think it's a survival type thing, right? It's more traditional MMO.
It's like fishing in World of Warcraft.
I'm not going to risk my video card. Windows 11 has really, really flip-flopped. How many times has this flipped and flopped? It seems limitless. But
No, this is not a flip-flop. This is just hackers being hackers.
No, but they flip-flop because they said it was you could all do it, and now you all can't do it. Well, maybe you can again. Oh, you have to have this. Well, maybe you can. Maybe you can't get updates. Well, good news. You don't have to worry about any of that until they change this.
New Windows 11 install script bypasses the TPM and other system requirements. This thing will just run and run and run and run. Now, when you go to update it, it might say, okay, or no, we don't know, but the script will just do whatever you want.
So you can get this media creation tool, which will create an installer that already has all this stuff set for you, and they also give you the registry keys here that you need to change if you want to do this manually. When you do that, this will go away, and you can install Windows 11.
Yeah.
How exciting. Works for virtual machines as well.
Nice. Although you can do TPM in virtual machines. That's not really a big deal.
The pandemic, this Ars Technica says it's easing. Is it?
I don't think it's not
No.
even here.
Doesn't seem like any less pressure to me, but I don't know. Maybe there's another reason for this.
Chromebook demand is plummeting as the thing eases. Maybe it's a chip shortage?
Could it be that they've already bought them for school,
Oh, yeah, it could be.
and now school has started?
Well, yeah, and school is also, a lot of places are doing in person again, so it's like, well, I don't need a computer now.
There are a surprising amount of posts from people that are in high school, and they're like, well, I was running my GPU scalping business during the day, but now I have to go back to school. And it's like, wow, that's impressive.
That's good. Get those ne'er-do-wells back in the program. Get them away. I wonder, though, so I remember reading one of the local schools just went back to online only. And they said there will be a drive-through service for you to come and pick up your Chromebook. How many of those do they get back?
Well, probably about 50%.
I bet it's less.
No, I'd say 50% is probably pretty safe.
That's crazy. How many of those 50% are still usable?
No, that's a better question.
How many of them got pawned?
Tesla, back when Australia was having their power issues, Musk swooped in and he was like, I will build you the biggest battery the world has ever seen. And he did it. He built the biggest battery the world has ever seen. And we stopped thinking about it. We were like, wow, that man actually did something he said. That's impressive. But here, a few years down the road, maybe the Australians aren't that crazy about it.
A Tesla big battery is getting sued over power grid failures in Australia. This is motherboard. So I dug into this. I don't think that this is a Tesla battery. Like, I don't think the battery is at fault. It seems like the people that are running it haven't followed through beyond just turning the battery on and off.
Well, so here's the way it works. There's another power plant. But when this power plant gets too much load, it needs to tap into the big battery. Now, the big battery is charged, but it seems to be like it's not able to get what it needs from the big battery when it needs it.
Sometimes it's a little late, is what they... Now, most of the time it is, because the article talks about how, like, so many thousand times it worked correctly, but a few times it didn't work correctly, and a few times it was out of phase. Like, this thing is supposed to be able to match phase with, like, whatever the power company wants arbitrarily, but it wasn't able to match phase, and that's maybe some of the transfer failures. It hasn't actually caused any power outages or anything like that, but they have entered, like, the red zone because there wasn't very much, spare power available. This seems more like a management issue than a technological issue, but also maybe there's some components missing, or maybe it was an Elon Musk thing where he's like, here is 90% of the solution. You got to figure out that last 10% on your own.
But that last 10% will get you every time.
But they're still using the bejesus out of the battery. It's just not, been amazing. And to be sure, they're not suing Tesla. They're suing the people that
The French company
that has the Tesla battery. So it might be incompetent management. I don't know.
Well, wasn't there? I saw this trending on Twitter, and I didn't look at it this closely, so I could be wrong about every detail here. But wasn't Australia kind of entered a new alliance with Canada and us for power stuff because they were mad at like a French company, and then the French were mad about that?
Yeah, I read a bunch of articles that were like the pro-Tesla side of it, and they left a bunch of stuff out. And then I read a whole bunch of stuff that was like, this is basically a horrible Tesla failure. But then those articles left out the fact that most of the time this does actually work right. This is just a very small percentage of the time that there's a problem.
Okay. A very small, let's say 5% of the time, I'm going to turn your power off. You okay with that?
Well, it never actually went off. It just went into the
But
red
it
zone.
will if it continues.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Clearly
eventually,
something
probably.
needs to happen, yes. But will Tesla ultimately be responsible for the fix? And I think based on what these articles say, no, Tesla wouldn't be the one to actually fix what's causing the problem with the transfers. They need some sort of phase matching thing.
But if he was smart,
he would go fix it.
He would just let the PR thing happen and be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what's wrong here, and I will fix it. Rather than what he is going to do, which is, this is not my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a good way to approach that.
Didn't include it, but we might as well talk about it. They broke up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grimes and Elon. Good for her.
They had matching sad Twitter emojis, too.
Yeah, that was
Just
anime emojis.
seemed like a PR stunt.
But one of them had to be less sad.
Obviously.
So one of them, that's whose idea it was.
Mm.
Well,
I hope
electric
she
trucks.
makes good music for it.
You like her music. I don't
I do like
understand
her
that.
music. Yeah.
It's not for me.
She's a weirdo, but I like her music.
Yeah, well, that's what you're into, isn't it?
Yeah, I like weird music.
What
so.
do you rank her on a scale of Bjork?
Oh, she's not anywhere near Bjork. Maybe one day, but like Bjork's just like she's from another planet. Like people will be studying Bjork's music in like 100 years.
She needs to suffer at least 2 or 3 more billionaire relationships in order to be, Bjork's level of suffering.
No, she needs like my thing. I like a lot of her songs individually, but like her albums aren't cohesive as like an idea. She needs to like get the philosophy stuff down.
Get it together, Grimes.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Great music though. Looking forward to your next album. Fucking release it. Anyway.
Krista, you are crushing us with the monetization.
Oh, sorry. Do they probably flag that, don't they?
Oh,
yeah.
And titles too. The titles are also a struggle anymore.
The titles are always so brilliant, and it's no one appreciates it.
Some people appreciate them.
We throw away a lot of titles because we're worried.
Yeah. There's a lot that's like, that's going to get us flagged.
Electric trucks. We have the big F-150 that's coming, and everybody seems super, super hyped about that. We had, what was the other one that Biden drove? The Jeep. We have the Jeep that's coming, the electric Jeep. But those are all existing ICE companies. We need something new and fresh, and now we have it.
First drive, Rivian delivers the electric truck that we've been waiting for. The 2022 Rivian R1T has a lot to like and some details to love. This is an incredibly comprehensive review from TechCrunch.
Krista, what about these headlights? How do you feel about
I
them?
feel like that's a strange. Why did they do that?
I think it makes them look like Disney cars.
A little bit. Would that be, I mean, I haven't seen them at night, but like, would that make it, would they not get as much of a range of light beamed out? Because they're so tall and narrow.
I think modern headlights are also using these LED clusters. This is just arranging them a little different. I think this is purely aesthetic.
I don't know that I like that. It's fine, but...
So the article was pretty good. One of the trucks in the fleet, a bunch of YouTubers and review people participated in this. One of them got a flat, and so they walked through like the tire replacement procedure on one of these, like while out on the trail and that kind of thing. And there's a built-in camping stove and stuff like that. And it's actually pretty interesting.
So obviously from these pictures, the big thing they're selling here is this is all about the off-road. And that's what they're proving driving around these things up here. Here is one thing that might slow you down a little bit. $75,000.
Whew. The other thing that might slow you down a little bit, people who live in rural areas like this don't have access to charging stations.
You can charge these at home.
It'll charge overnight. Yeah.
I imagine that would be also very expensive on your electric bill.
It's not going to fast charge unless you get a 400 amp panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to drive up your electric bill for sure, but I don't think it's going to touch what you're paying for gasoline.
Yeah, if you're having a big truck like that.
You will save money.
Oh, yeah. Electricity around here is super cheap.
Yeah. China, oddly enough, just after we did that Australia story, China now has power problems.
Oh, no.
And that's interesting because it's so funny that the rest of the world is like, all right, we're going to green energy, wind and solar. And China's over there doing everything they can just to keep the lights on with all those factories running 100%.
China's growing power crunch threatens more global supply chain chaos. The place that I ordered printed circuit boards from sent an email and was like, we're taking a week off. Sorry, good luck.
A lot
Good
of
luck,
that
everybody
going.
else.
Yeah, they're having to shut them down. And, if you schedule it, you don't have the unexpected shutdown, which with a lot of this manufacturing stuff can be really expensive.
Yeah.
So that is going to be bad for our store shelves right around the holiday shopping season.
Yeah.
Great. That means we don't need to shop as much, right? Let's not do all these gift exchanges that no one cares about.
Mom, Jif peanut butter update. Week 2 of I had to really spend a lot of time to find Jif peanut butter.
Where'd you get it?
Walmart.
Don't you have to go to Walmart for several of her items?
Yeah. It's disconcerting.
Walmart's it's the armpit of society.
It was also from a jar that was oddly dusty. And it's like, where did they get this?
That's the only one left in America. Well, boy, cryptocurrency made a big recovery last night. That was nice to wake up to. Hey, have $10,000 overnight. I'll take that. But some people still don't know where to get Bitcoin. And I got to say, Coinbase, they're serious about security, but setting up a new account, it's a bit of a hurdle. So what do you do?
From ATMs to drugstores, you can now buy Bitcoin almost anywhere. Bitcoin ATMs is what this story's about, and how they have 20,000, and they're going to add 100,000 over the next 3 years.
That is a lot. Now, we've talked about these before. You don't insert cash and get numbers out of it. It doesn't work quite like that. You got to use your phone and all that stuff. But you can buy Bitcoin without going through these online exchanges. Although, it's got to be annoying. You know how you go to a vending machine and your bag of chips gets stuck? And you just smash on it? Do you do that with a Bitcoin machine?
I just gave you $5,000.
Just rock it till the Bitcoins fall out?
Do you go to your local flea market and it's like, I got to grab some Bitcoin while I'm here?
That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, when it's made illegal because of inflation. And they don't want money going out of the country, like China.
What if you need old doll parts at the flea market? You're going to have to spend Bitcoin on
You
that?
can only barter for that.
I got to reserve it right now.
And Bitcoin is eating up a lot of electricity. More and more people are pointing that out and sort of villainizing it because green, climate, it's bad for it. So what do? Well, you buy a power company.
Old coal plant is now mining Bitcoin for a utility company. So this is actually something that happened around here too. The coal power plant has to output a certain amount of electricity. There has to be a certain amount of demand on the grid. And so things have gotten so efficient, electrical demand in general has gone down in residential America over the last 20, 30 years, substantially.
Plus they got the renewables.
Yeah. And so, and a lot of people are going solar and blah, blah, blah. So it's really hard to keep the coal plants online. So around here, the problem is you got to do something to increase the electrical demand. You could just convert it to heat, but that's not very efficient. So these folks are running Bitcoin mining farms, and they say in the article that it only takes 20 seconds to port the power from the mining operation to the grid when the grid needs it. But by keeping the mining operation going, they recoup some of the costs that it takes to run the equipment. It's profitable, and it also ensures that the electricity is available when it's needed for non-mining things. So literally the mining is the lowest priority, and it's a better situation to do that than not have the plant operational at all. But it's weird because we're in this transitionary phase and people are like, oh my gosh, we're burning coal for Bitcoin.
There is an alarm that probably should be sounded there. We're taking irreplaceable in not just our lifetimes, but how many, a million generations of lifetime? We have these dead dinosaurs and trees.
We're not going to get coal anymore because now things break down the things that die.
That's all that we're ever going to have. And we're taking this resource, which is you're never going to be able to make more of, and we're like, just turn this into artificial money. Please. Can we convert this into artificial money and also a terrible byproduct?
Well, you were talking about, like, it would be cool if we could use that for heat. And it's like, do you think the people who didn't have heat in Texas over the winter, they're like, man.
Or the ones in China that are going to freeze to death this winter? People are going to freeze to death in China.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a problem of transporting the energy because, Texas elected not to connect their grid to anything else. So the rest of the grids literally couldn't help them when they had a cold snap.
I think that's going to happen again this year.
When it comes to the voluntary...
Level 1 prediction.
When you're going to have to voluntarily cycle your power off for a certain amount of times... where do you think the Uyghur camps are in that rotation?
At the top of the list.
If they have power at all in a lot of those places.
Is there an alternative to Bitcoin that would let the coal plant continue to be operational? Because not operating the coal plant would make the possibility of a Texas type situation much more likely that the grid would become overloaded, because then the plant wouldn't be operating at all.
No, I think, well, yeah, you could probably give it away.
Elon Musk saves the day with more batteries. We pull yet more lithium from this irreplaceable.
I mean, look at all these electric cars we're building.
Oh boy. Yeah, if you invested in lithium in the 90s, you can retire now.
Eventually, there's going to be a whole parking lot full of electric trucks just daisy chained together at the utility company, and that's the battery. And then every once in a while, one catches fire.
We got to park more than 20 feet away from each other.
You got to run out there with a broom handle and knock the cable off of it. iOS 15 is out, and we are finding bugs.
Oh, there's so many bugs. This bug, if you have a picture that you saved from iMessage, it remembers that you saved the picture from iMessage, and then if you delete the message or the thread that the message came from, it will also delete the image, because of course you wanted that, of course.
Imagine you're a young man, let's say maybe you're 15, 16 years old, you got your iPhone, you're feeling good, you finally get up the courage to talk to a girl, you get your first nude. Oh my God, a milestone. And then you delete it.
Oops.
And you can never get it back.
What happened to save as? It's like
there's no file system.
Yeah, there's no file, because we had that story about there's no file system, and it's like, what do you mean save as doesn't work anymore?
And you don't want to put little Susie's picture in the cloud, because technically that's CSAM.
You're gonna get a stern talking to for sure.
So watch out for that. If you get an image in your message, make sure you forward it to your email address to keep it. The AirTag has also been released. It's a fun little thing. Costs $30. Helps you to not lose things. But it has a special feature. When you do lose it, it's kind of like, how a lot of car companies will have that little tag that they'll give you. And if you drop it into a mailbox, your keys just come back to you. It's that kind of thing, but it's digital. And it has a terrible flaw.
Apple AirTag bug enables a quote-unquote Good Samaritan attack. What this is you can have a fake AirTag, basically, or an AirTag that's been modified, and on your iPhone you'll get a pop-up that's like, oh, this AirTag has been lost. You want to help the person try to find it, and it's a QR code or something, and that will actually trigger, the delivery of malware.
So you can actually put bad stuff in this text field. And if you do it in such a way that it runs bad code, you could cause them a lot of problems just from scanning your AirTag and trying to get it back to you.
Oops.
Which means that no one will scan AirTags now, right?
Yeah.
How many people wouldn't just steal the thing anyway? I guess maybe they're afraid with the AirTag on it that they might get caught.
Probably, yeah.
Grift Horse is a great name for a malware. Maybe one of the best ever. And it affects everybody's Android phones, so you should be terrified of it.
New Grift Horse malware has infected more than 10 million Android phones. I'd like to just point out how this headline definitely underscores that no one at Google is paying any attention whatsoever to what is going on in the Android App Store. Zero attention. How does the infection get this bad?
Is this map correlated? It doesn't really say. It says Zimperium.
Talking about malware or just
Most of where the malware is?
the pandemic?
I don't know if they're actually telling us that or not. Africa's doing pretty good.
Probably the lack of phones.
So, yeah, what this does is it signs you up for these SMS services, like, maybe you get some dog facts or something, but it's going to cost you $35 a month to get those dog facts. And you never said yes to it, it was the malware that signed you up.
Did anybody ever willingly pay $35 a month for DocFax?
I don't know, but they say these guys are making a lot of money, like $1.5 million a month or so.
Wow.
Well, it was definitely worth it. I mean, obviously 10 million people, Google is looking at this in their analytics and they're like, surely to goodness 10 million people are not infected with malware. This has got to be a legit commercial operation. The answer was no. The analytics were lying.
But like you say, why would anybody ever
Yeah.
do that? It's crazy.
I love it when you have something that's just, somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, the analytics show that, the search isn't really used or whatever. And then you explain like how that is a consequence of bad design. And they're like, oh, that's probably right.
Well, when you get a large corporation or government, you get this mentality of, that's not my job. It's somebody else's job to deal with that. Even though this is on fire, I am not the fire marshal, so I'm going to leave the room. That is the wrong attitude to have, and it leads to this.
Story of credentials leaking Exchange Autodiscover flaw, the one Microsoft wouldn't fix even after 5 years. So it turns out if you use Exchange or Exchange in the cloud, it tries to automatically figure out where your mail server is. And rather than use DNS like everybody has used since the beginning of time, since the beginning of email, to figure out where your mail server is, it uses something Microsoft invented called Autodiscover. Well, guess what? If your email is at foo.com, it hits foo.com, the website, to ask where the mail server is. And if you maliciously respond, the mail programs will happily send foo.com your email, username, and password. Now, what happens if the corporate website is, not even on the corporate network, it's run by some, idiot agency that's using WordPress for your, hosting? Oh no, there's malware in WordPress. Oh no, it's stealing your Exchange credentials.
I sense some repressed rage there.
So yeah, be careful what's running on your domain or what domains you enter into Microsoft when you're setting up Exchange.
Or who you let work on things that are your domain. Just saying.
Now, we have given the warning several times before, and we get a lot of questions about this, actually. A lot of people are like, oh, what VPN do you guys use? Well, it's constantly shifting. For a while, I think private internet access was one of the best. But didn't they do something?
I think they got bought by an intelligence organization.
So then you don't know. Now you're guessing again. Now, I would say the one way that you can tell is the ones that get sued. And in court, come and say, we cannot satisfy this request because we do not keep logs. Liquid VPN would go on that list, except now they probably don't exist anymore. And if they do, they're going to get destroyed.
Film studios sue quote-unquote no logs VPN provider for $10 million. Independent movie studios are demanding $10 million in damages from Liquid VPN. It'll be interesting to see how this court case plays out. I wonder, some of the exhibits in the court case seem to sort of hinge on the studios saying that Liquid VPN is encouraging piracy. And so if they've avoided that, then they should be okay.
But then there's this.
Yeah.
The best VPN for torrenting and peer-to-peer file sharing. Now, does torrenting and peer-to-peer file sharing have to be piracy? Not at all. Remember when they were distributing Linux distros on that?
Oh yeah.
And people kept getting caught up with the ISPs.
Remember, I think it was like Spectrum sent somebody a cease and desist for distributing Ubuntu, and it was like, but
because it was peer-to-peer.
But this Ubuntu is allowed.
But I'm afraid that Liquid VPN probably did know who they were advertising here to. Yeah, so
hopefully this court case works out for them. I hope it does. It should under the law, but then also Arrow, which rebroadcasts over that should have worked out fine for them under the law too. It did not.
Remember Popcorn Time?
That one's a little more flagrant.
But I think Liquid VPN was advertising, hey, if you're going to use Popcorn Time.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah. Now, I did a little bit of VPN research lately, and I discovered that ExpressVPN also is no-log total RAM disk. And I thought, that sounds pretty good. Maybe I'll try them out. And I did, and they seem to be okay. But now, what's this?
ExpressVPN employees complain about the ex-spy's top role at company. So there's somebody that has left the intelligence community, or maybe not, that is running things.
But not only the intelligence community, not the American intelligence community, the United Arab Emirates.
Ooh.
And we have seen plenty of headlines about the UAE and what they're willing to do with Pegasus, for example. They're willing to spy on a lot of people.
Like the French president.
And Morocco did something.
That was the French president.
So, yeah, the guy running the place over at ExpressVPN used to do that for a living, and they knew about it when they hired him. That's the thing that people are up in arms about.
Maybe they got a visit and was like, look, you're not going to exist anymore because you've become an international target. Let our guy run things and you can continue to make money. I was like, okay, that sounds good.
Their argument is, this guy's good. Like, not only do we hire him and we're happy with that, we've been giving him more and more power because he's just so good. Of course, if he was spying, that means he gets more and more access. SpaceX is out there, and people are using it, and they seem to like it. And now that it's in the hands of the consumer, of course, they're going to use it for things it was never meant for.
SpaceX satellite signals used like GPS to pinpoint location on Earth. It turns out that the laws of physics apply universally to all satellite signals. And because we know the structure of what the SpaceX satellite signals are going to look like, and they have timing information in the packets, we can just use those. We can use that arbitrarily to figure out where we are on Earth because we know where the satellites are.
Now, these guys went out of their way to, they fell all over themselves to point out, we do not know what else is coming on these signals. The only thing we know is the timing and which satellite it came from. We're not spying on your SpaceX signal. I promise we're not.
I got the feeling that they were doing that because they didn't want to get sued by Musk.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, what are you doing? More than stirring up outrage because they're like, oh my gosh, they're spying on me.
Even if he didn't spy on for what they were doing, what if they affected sales somehow? Because people were like, oh no, they looking at my satellite feed, my Pornhub. We know that federal agencies very regularly go to the big tech companies and they say, we're going to need all the information you have about this person, or even worse, we're going to need to know all the people that were in this location. And we live in a horrible dystopia, so they get it. But it's even worse than that.
When the FBI seizes your messages from from big tech, you may not know it for years.
But also probably from Bing somehow.
Enter the story of Ryan Lackey, who didn't find out that he lost all of his stuff until years later.
5 years. And he wasn't sure, and still isn't sure, what exactly they were looking for. But, he was some kind of activist or something, right? Yeah, like an open secrets type of guy. So they also point out how Trump went after all the media people. That wasn't okay.
That was not okay.
But they did it.
And yet nothing has happened to anybody that rubber stamped that all the way down.
Well, you'd have to go back so far, though. Every president would have to be taken down by that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten really dark since the days since Nixon.
God. Obama is such a national treasure. We can't let anything happen to him. DDoS is a big problem, and if you have a big website, you really have to deal with it. But if you have a website that offers a service, a digital service, you're extra at risk.
VoIP.ms phone services disrupted by DDoS extortion attack. This went on for a couple of weeks, I think. And they just kept DDoSing this VoIP service, which is enough to disrupt, voice over IP. It's very latency sensitive. And they basically said, look, this will go away if you pay the ransom. So it wasn't even that they lost access or that they were compromised in some way. It was literally just flooding them with crap.
They they were hitting the DNS server. So hilariously, these guys were like, okay, if you're one of our customers, just go to your host's file. And you imagine the calls that came in. Just go to your host file and set up, go directly to the IP address. So the DDoS people immediately switched to the IP address instead of the DNS server. And we still got them. Yikes. Krista, how do you secure your phone nudes?
Well, I do that by not taking them because I trust no one.
That is probably the best way to do it. Google has another idea.
Google Photos nude-friendly folders coming to Android phones soon.
So basically, did they say what kind of encryption this was using?
No, it's just going to have an extra password.
So it's not encrypted?
Oh, it probably is.
But yeah, you can create a locked folder, which you can use your fingerprint or some other factor of authentication. And everything in that, I assume, will be encrypted, and you can't get to without...
Well, you have to do something like that because, when you do something, it's in your recent files, and then it's like in your history, and then it might come up, like Google's like, look, we made a thing of what you were doing on this day last year.
Oh, no.
No.
Don't listen.
Spam.
Potential spam.
You got to put it on mute.
That's fine. And you do your thing, and then like a year later it comes up and it's like, this is what you were doing on this day a year ago, and it's like, oh,
Taking
Yeah.
news.
yeah, it's like,
I got something like that on Facebook when I used to post on Facebook from like 10 years ago, and it was like, your dog died today, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
thanks Facebook.
Yeah, you feel like this feature should have been a thing that was added, I don't know, like a decade ago.
I get that. I mean, you need a folder that's locked down, but I think a decade ago, were we ready to admit that leaked nudes were as big as a problem as they were?
I just don't. I mean, I like having the idea of an extra layer of security for just anything. Like I might, have to take a picture of a bill or a bank statement or something, and it's like I don't want that mixed in with the rest of the crap on my phone.
Yeah.
How quickly do you think that Celebrite will get access?
They're immediately gonna. That's like the very top of the list. It's like, oh, we got access to the phone. Oh, we copied the folder. We don't know what the passcode is, but we copied the folder. We'll crack that. Don't worry. Yeah.
Did you pull the nudes? Remember, always pull the nudes on step 2. It's most important. Don't ever forget those. Electronic monitoring is something that has been stepped up in the wake of the pandemic because you don't want to lock people in tiny rooms together, right? That would be bad. But as NBC News points out, maybe the electronic stuff is worse.
Other than prison, electronic monitoring is the most restrictive form of control, research finds. This is a form of incarceration that happens outside of prison walls, said one expert.
The big problem seems to be that the level of, like, you have to walk such a straight line when you're on electronic surveillance that almost everybody violates it and then ends up back in prison with more time.
The article kind of makes it imply, like, let's say that you got an ankle monitor, and the ankle monitor of the future can tell the people around you, and it's like, oh, you went to the store and you were near this other person that was a convicted felon, and it's like, I didn't even know that. And it's like, but the technology knew that.
Yeah.
Well, remember when getting a tweet from one of those people could keep you out of the country?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's not the kind of thing that they are above doing.
So the Norwegian water must be decent if it's going into the thing.
Yeah, the Norwegian water is perfectly fine water. Certainly. I got nothing bad to say about it.
Definitely better than the Kroger alternative.
Oh, yeah. Way ahead of Kroger. Still a step behind Nestle. I'm sorry. Norway, maybe if you would institute a slavery program, you could one day make water as good as Nestle. But that's the only way you can do it, is human slavery. That kind of quality requires sacrifice.
So
Not for me.
So that's why the iPhones are selling so well.
Any tech, really. Anything made overseas.
Well, Eurostar, which I take to be the passport system that they use in the UK and at their airports, they had a bit of a problem.
UK airports, Eurostar hit by a brief border software outage. So you're coming in, going out of the border, and the software that's like green light or red light, it was like, I don't know.
So nothing happens.
It was a bit of a problem.
People just mill around in the airport, and it's a terrible, terrible thing because our entire lives are controlled by algorithms. OnlyFans, they are back to being in the sex worker business. They're proud. They've found alternative funding. Everything is going well, except they've got a problem with their ticketing system.
Former OnlyFans employees could access users' and models' personal information. Addresses, passports, bank statements, and other sensitive information were viewable long after leaving the company. They forget to turn people that were fired their accounts off. Oops.
So this was a issue tracker. Was this Fogbugs, I think? Zendesk, one of the big ones. And so, when you have a ticketing system, someone from OnlyFans says, oh, I've got a problem. It goes in, it creates a ticket, and it's your job to go and take those tickets and do things with them. And then you quit or you get fired. And guess what? Your login still works.
Oops.
Ugh. How many women do you think were harassed by former employees who worked on the ticketing system?
That's how they figured this out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, those women are probably pretty used to being harassed at this point, right?
Yeah, but usually it's just like some rando, someone who knows your address and like your bank info. That's a little terrifying.
Yeah, for sure. It's they need to do some sort of hash for that, right?
Yeah.
Like you're never looking at.
That's actually a PCI compliance violation. that they can get to that.
Uh,
They can get fined, or worse, be uninsured, and then they can't process credit cards once again.
remember those hacks that could get past the lock screen on an iPhone?
Yep.
Some people saw that and they said, how could I use that to steal money?
Apple Pay with Visa has been hacked to make payments via locked iPhones. Well, it turns out the headline is misleading. It's Apple Pay is designed, or Apple Pay with Visa, I'm sorry, is designed to allow payments without unlocking. That's what the headline should have been.
It's called transit mode. When you turn on transit mode, it assumes that you don't want to unlock your phone. You just want to scan it to get on a train or something. I guess that's to keep the line moving, maybe.
I mean, that's unlocking your phone takes like 3 seconds.
Well, that's too much apparently. And so they figured out that when that is turned on, you can just pay for anything.
Appliances, phones, other phones,
Just phones all the way down.
trains.
You could buy the whole train.
Oops, I didn't mean to buy the train. I just wanted a ticket.
Honestly, I don't think there's any place you could buy a train with that kind of near-field transaction. There might be. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Model trains at Hobby Lobby.
Oh, there you go. Trains are us. Trains for less.
We should do a Trains R Us episode in the style of Spatula City from UHF. Just for fun.
Fun. And our final story, we talked about this last week. Web host Epic. They did some things wrong. They did a lot of things wrong, and it's hurting them.
We've leaked disk images stolen from far-right friendly web host Epic, according to Anonymous. So these are disk dumps from their cloud provider or wherever they were using, 180 gigabytes. So there's a lot of stuff that has not really been processed or analyzed yet. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot more stories about stuff that they found and people that were involved.
And these are the kind of people who, by doxing them, there are people out there who will probably try to go after them. Because these are the extremes of the two sides. And there's a lot of bitterness there. So we'll see if Epic has any. Going forward, they might have some culpability in terms of some horrible things that happen.
They're going to have some problems.
They've already got problems. They're pretty much done, I think, as a web server. So if you want to go look at that, you can. Read about the Proud Boys. See what they're up to.
All right, another episode done. Is that it? Any final thoughts? How far are you into the orange soda? I think you're below the label.
A little more than half.
Yeah, you've definitely gone half. Because of that cola, you haven't even put it in it.
No, I've still got a little bit in the cup. Drinking it slowly.
I feel like they really ripped off RC's art style there.
I mean, cola kind of has a classic style.
Yeah,
You don't
but
want to
the
deviate
blue,
too
the
far
label,
from it.
is what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
It was a little old timey, and I'm pretty sure that this is a public domain
Image.
because I've seen it in a lot of places. I've seen it usually with respect to beer.
Oh, yeah. It's a hand holding a cup up like this. Anyway, we will see you guys on Friday. Bye. Hello, everybody. Today's October 8th, and we're doing social and nonsense. Also, I have a package this week, which I think I mentioned on Tuesday, but I think I know who this is from, but I missed the name, and I haven't found a note in here. I can see their icon in my head.
It's a drop ship.
Yeah, I think it's Andrew maybe. But they sent me a bunch of cosmetics. Daily cleanser packets, some sort of lotion. You guys want to try anything?
Which I thought was, it's Elf, and I thought that was like a
No, it's a cosmetics brand.
Yeah, I thought it was the Lord of the Rings type of thing, but no, apparently.
A primer trio.
This is watermelon jelly cleaner.
Oh.
Watermelon glitter face mask. Glitter.
Sorry.
I think this is a stripper starter kit.
Jelly Pop face kit, dew primer, juicy gloss, face and eye gloss. It is also more glitter.
Dew primer?
Yeah,
Package is
DEW.
oddly dusty.
Glassy
That's
skin
anthrax.
balm. This is probably like what we talked about, the dolphin skin.
Oh, is that what prompted this?
Probably, yeah. Well, Nate, this person
Is that a
has
real
commented
autograph,
before
or
asking about makeup,
is
so
that part of the packing material?
I think that's part of the packing material.
This was a drop ship. This person never touched this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably good.
Eyeliner. That's actually nice. I'll probably use that because mine is about done.
So next week we can expect you to be pretty fabulous, right?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to use some of it next week. I don't have any makeup on today.
Oh, are you coming next week?
Oh, so I'm on vacation for 2 weeks, chat. I should probably be here Friday. We'll see. It's a staycation. I'll be working in the yard most of that 2 weeks. Flawless brightening concealer. A brush set. Always nice. Tell me, what do you use these for?
To apply makeup, obviously.
Obviously. What do you use the sponge for? What part of the makeup?
That's the foundation.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah.
A shadow crown duo.
Ryan's had a couple sexual relationships.
Do you wear the makeup in those relationships?
No,
or?
but you see these things and you're like, what is this? This looks like you just ripped the corner off a sponge. What is this?
Oh, this is another priming thing. So you can
They really want you to. They really want you to strip down to the bare metal.
Yeah, hydrating balm. I don't know what some of this stuff does, so I'm just gonna have to.
This
play
is a
with
lot
it.
of stuff. This seems like
It
a high
is.
dollar value.
Yeah, this is a lot. Thank you. Blush. And another brush. This is a lot. Thank you very much. You guys can't. I mean, you can try it if you want. If you want to wear some glitter.
No, I'm good.
You think they're related to the Elf brand at all? Or is that just what they love?
That must be what they like, because it is all elf stuff. Thank you. Oh, I'm trying not to hit the mic. Whee! I kind of want to open the glitter now, but I won't do that because that'll be noisy on camera.
Well, social media. How about Facebook? Facebook has a lot of power, and if they were to just flex one little pinky in your direction a little bit, they could change your life. That's what they're looking to do in Virginia.
Facebook will open its fiber networks to expand broadband access in rural Virginia. The partnership plans to connect 6,000 households this year. How bad is broadband in your area if Facebook is going to be your ISP?
Remember when they tried that in
Garbage.
Africa, and the Africans were like, nah,
No, we don't.
we don't really trust you.
Yeah.
So
This is bananas that Facebook can just become an ISP because they could make so much money from the data. What does that tell you about how badly our fiber network has been managed since the 90s?
yeah, that is another instance of you are the product there.
And if they're in Virginia, you know it's only a matter of time before they're here.
Dear pleb, we can't help but notice that you haven't been to your telemetry station in the last 3 days. Please return to that.
We require a stool sample.
And Facebook have also recognized, I believe, that they are no longer the big dog in social media. Every time they see TikTok, it's gotta really hurt.
Yeah.
Because TikTok is the big one now. And how do you regain that prize? Well, they have this plan.
Facebook is spending $50 million to quote-unquote responsibly build the metaverse. What they see as the metaverse is the intersection of reality and virtual space and virtual reality and augmented reality so that we can all collaborate better together, get stuff done, and empower the human experience or something like that.
That's some good corporate bullshit talk.
Krista,
Oh, sorry.
you immediately demonetized us again. Is this going to be another...
I said sit, YouTube person. Who's
Oh, right, yeah. You're going to trick the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah. I say person who's reviewing it. They don't have people who review this.
I had a friend in college, and he actually told me one day in some really strict, lowered voice. He was like, "Listen, man, I promised God I was going to do this thing if he would give me such and such." And he got it, whatever it was. And he was like, "I'm not going to do that." And I was like, "What? So you're going to pull one over on God? Is that the plan here?" How does that work?
And today you learned something about yourself.
So, yeah, the metaverse, they have one piece of the metaverse so far, which is that, remember that VR where people didn't have any legs?
Oh, yeah.
That's the metaverse so far. It's a conference room app. Because we all want to be back in the conference room.
Yeah. That's the best part of the job, really. It's just talking to people, sitting in meetings.
Talking about what everybody did over their vacations.
Oh, you guys are going to get that from me.
I love it.
Mm.
But Facebook also has a little bit of a problem. You remember when it came out in the news that teen girls just couldn't wait to kill themselves because of Instagram? Well, that corresponded with the time when Instagram for Kids was rolling out.
The Wall Street Journal, Facebook is hitting the brakes on Instagram for Kids. And the headline here from CNN, this very serious-looking people, it's like, Facebook knows the toxicity of Instagram. They know. They know.
And the fact that they stopped this probably does prove that they know.
Well, no. The Facebook says they stopped it because they really wanted lawmakers to feel good about the program.
Yeah, so what they're waiting for is for all this to blow over, and then they're going to roll it out.
Yes, exactly.
I would argue that they were doing that because they know about this, and they know that eventually we will know about this.
The Wall Street Journal's headline is, they've got some more files that are related to that, and it's not just Instagram. The headline is, Facebook's effort to attract preteens goes beyond Instagram Kids. And these documents show it. But they also have comparisons in there to TikTok and other social platforms, and so they're basically just saying, how can we get ahead of China?
And how do we indoctrinate these kids before they get to the point where they're online a lot?
I say, yeah, 10 to 12 is a huge emerging market that they're trying to capture.
They're 12 today, but pretty soon they're going to be 18.
It's 6 short years till they move to Pornhub. In that time, we must capture them. Also, check this out. This has a little bit of a horror movie flicker to it.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I
You
really
can do that in
like that.
CSS now.
That's
It's just
nice.
a CSS animation.
We should use that more. Woofer, put that in the framework.
Dot Flickr is the class.
And YouTube, looking to probably head off any comparisons to that, have made this ridiculous statement.
Bloomberg has the article, YouTube CEO says platform is quote-unquote valuable for teens' mental health. And yes, I know, you should really control your I mean, this is probably not going to end well for this particular executive.
So I think the argument here is that when you were destroyed mentally by Facebook and Instagram, you could go to YouTube and watch videos that would restore your sanity.
My takeaway was similar to that. It was basically like when you're damaged goods, that you can connect with other people that are damaged in the same way and feel better about it. And it's like, I don't think that's the message that you want to say.
That only leads to furry conventions. So, yeah. I mean, YouTube is an amazing resource, and you probably could learn to do almost anything, including mental health,
Yeah.
if you really dedicated yourself. But are teen girls going to do that?
Well, see, I think YouTube, maybe that's true of every platform. I feel like Instagram maybe is the worst part of it, but like YouTube can really be whatever you want it to be. Like there are whole sections of YouTube that don't deal with like making you feel like shit about yourself as a person.
Mostly.
Boom!
Yeah.
Demonetization.
Listen, it's the Friday before a vacation. I just don't care. I got to get out of here.
Well, Krista, you say that you can do anything on YouTube, but there is one thing that you must not do on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, this is new. YouTube will remove videos with misinformation about any.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I can't even say the word.
The jabs. We're not talking about boxing.
Oh, I thought that, the algorithm might mishear that and then also get flagged.
I bet jabs is a keyword now.
The punctures.
Yeah, punctures. There we go.
I can't scroll down, but they do lay out bullet points, and I agreed with all of them except one, and I can't tell you which one it is. 'Cause
But thanks to Linode for sponsoring this mess.
But it was one that I'm very confident is not a true fact.
Yes.
And if you say it's not a true fact, you fall victim to it.
Yeah. And then we had this.
And then the same woman.
I mean, can we get Ron Howard to read this? Because I feel like this is what's required.
Well, we got to think back to remember the original Russian stories we did on Tuesday, where they banned RT either right before or right after this.
There's always this kind of juxtaposition in our stories. It's always there. You just got to look for it.
And so either they did this right after or right before a huge ban. Either way, she knew what was coming, right?
Yeah. Free speech is a quote-unquote core value The YouTube CEO says after blocking Russian opposition videos.
As we've made multiple jokes about demonetization, and we can't swear, and we can't say this word, and we can't tell you how we really feel about this thing, because otherwise we'll be demonetized.
Now, this is not the same. This was not RT, not the Germany RT ban. That we're talking about the Navalny.
The voting thing.
The app, yeah.
Yeah. These were videos related to the app.
We had some pro-Russian comments in our video.
We did,
you see
yes.
that? Yeah, I wondered if those were
bots.
AstroTurfers.
Yeah. Those aren't real people.
They're good at identifying the videos that they should attack, aren't they?
It's the transcripts. Yeah. It's easy to search the transcripts.
Just like when Krista curses like a sailor.
I've seen some of the bots on local news articles.
Yeah.
About certain things. There's a solar project around here, and like you'll see tons of comments on it, but then if you click on some of the profiles, they're from like other states, and they only post about that thing, and it's like, that seems strange.
It's an anti-bot.
Yeah.
That's renewable energy. That's probably just shell, right?
Big coal.
Yeah.
TikTok. Now, a lot of people, I think Trump was a big advocate of this, right? They didn't want any social media in the military.
Yep.
Remember the Fitbit thing?
Forbidden.
The Fitbits were forbidden because people were jogging at secret military installations. And that was going out onto the... People were like, well, that's weird. There's a circle all around this empty spot in the desert. What's going on here? Similar kind of thing.
Secret military aircraft possibly has been exposed on TikTok. There's this thing, nobody can really make it out, and there's some pictures, and we got a video, and, what's happening? What is this?
This is like 4chan's favorite drug.
Yeah.
You give them a weird, obscure photo. Now, this, of course, the aerial shot, that wasn't part of it. Obviously, they went and got that, correlated everything, did their sleuthing, and tried to figure out, what is this thing? Probably a stealth aircraft.
Or a part for one.
Of all the things 4chan does, I feel like this is probably maybe the most benign.
But they get it incredibly wrong a lot of the time, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, remember when Shia LaBeouf was hiding that flag in all kinds of crazy places, and they could find it every time?
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that is so good. But there were a lot of mass shootings where they applied the same kind of thing and got the exact terribly, terribly wrong guy.
Yeah.
So
maybe not as benign.
All right. As long as we're just messing with celebrities, then that's one thing. But when it's everybody else, that's a problem. And this probably explains a lot of why Facebook is stressing so much.
TikTok just reached 1 billion monthly active users because it is super addictive.
I'm holding strong. I haven't gotten a TikTok yet.
Yeah, okay. I haven't gotten TikTok either, but how many YouTube TikToks do you consume every week?
They do pop up on other social media sites a lot.
Yeah.
Like Imager is a lot of TikTok now because they have that stupid little thing in the corner.
Really enjoyed that sea shanty.
Did we do that story yet? Oh.
Ah.
How appropriate. I didn't mean to do that at all.
Google seeks search deals for TikTok and Instagram videos. So this is going to be great. You know how when you search for an image and you get nothing but worthless Instagram results?
This is Pinterest.
Pinterest, yeah. Now it's going to be TikTok.
But I like the TikToks I watch on YouTube. They're entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not something I care that much about because it's such a short burst of entertainment. I see TikTok as like those little fun-sized Snickers. Like, I'm not even going to waste my time with this.
TikTok's kind of like, it's basically just Vine. Does that make me old for remembering Vine?
But it's like, I know this is bad for me. As much as I'm going to have a little burst of endorphins, I know I shouldn't have this in my life right now. And it's so little joy that I can actually look it over. It's just going to make me think about missing it right after I've had it. And I guess that's the addiction of it, right? It's crack. That's the crack.
Yeah. My mom has a TikTok. I can't get over that.
I thought you were going to say your mom's on crack.
No.
That's so dark.
No, that'd be too dark to reveal.
Yeah. You got to hide that.
Yeah, that's something you don't mention casually in a YouTube video.
The other thing about TikTok is it seems to be more suited for things becoming viral, right? Things can explode off of TikTok better than all the other platforms, it seems like, which is bad if someone uncovers something that you don't want uncovered on TikTok.
A teenager on TikTok disrupted thousands of scientific studies with a single video. This is a video that was like, hey, here's some side hustles you can make money. Here's a link to paid research. And so there was a flood of people that watched that video that were to paid research links where they normally don't get that kind of traffic. they needed a random cross sampling of traffic, not that, and it was enough to skew things, and so now they have to throw out those results.
Aw.
They went from a pretty random sample of just whoever wandered in, it turned out that was pretty diverse, to mostly teen TikTok girls.
Oops.
The data is not useful anymore. Unless you're studying teen TikTok girls.
It's not just girls, though. Everyone uses it.
Yeah, but she prompted her followers, which was overwhelmingly teen TikTok girls. And probably like thirsty older men
Ugh.
who didn't click the link because they're not interested in that content from her.
They don't need a side hustle. They're interested in becoming a sugar daddy.
They're already sugar daddies.
Maybe that was the implied side hustle. That's what she should have. It's like, oh yeah, here's your.
Maybe she's doing the survey so she can keep from having to do that. So I threw this in just because I've been absolutely loving watching the lava flow. Have you guys been watching that?
Yeah.
I
there's
watched a
live
little bit of it.
streams.
I watched it destroy a house.
When the lava flow goes into a swimming pool, that's one of the most satisfying things in the world I can watch. Because it's like, oh, it's going in. Oh, here comes the boil. It's boiling.
Yeah.
It's boiling. That's so exciting.
It is a crazy amount of energy that can be stored in rock. Who knew?
Yeah, and sometimes it will just magically spare a house. And I love that too. I think that is so
It
great.
just flows around the house.
Now here's the thing about it. That lava, when it settles, do we just bust that up and sell it for landscaping?
Yeah,
Or does it all flow? Because it can't all flow, right?
it kind of does.
I think there's different types of lava composition. So
But
it depends on what it is.
Will we ever get down to those houses that are under it?
No.
So we should just be piling trash in front of it. Just empty the landfills and just put lines of trash in front of the...
I'm pretty sure that releases lots of bad things into the atmosphere.
Nah, it'd be on top of them. It'll be like carbon capture.
It burns it. It's just going to release it as smoke.
Anyway, I just love watching them.
Spanish eruption escalates, prompting evacuations in an airport closure. This is on a little island.
La Palma.
Yeah, and it's destroying a lot of stuff.
I think it's probably done by now, right?
I think it's still going. There's also an eruption in Hawaii. But it's a small one compared to this.
We only need about 12 or 15 more of these to offset global warming, so I think we should probably hope for more of these.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yellowstone caldera 2024.
We need a lot of smoke in the air to reflect the sunlight so the planet cools off.
Oh, there's one of the miracle houses. Look at that. How great is that? So there's no road to get back there. Can you get to your house after this?
Probably not.
Not until much later.
I was thinking about this, Krista. I was thinking about myself for this, right? So this happened so fast that some people tried to come home and they were just had the roadblock up and they're like, nope, you're never going back there. It's gone. Say goodbye to it. What if Rue was there?
That'd be so upsetting. Well, that happens all the time with the wildfires and stuff. Or the hurricanes. All these natural disasters that are happening.
You got to get electronic locks and stuff so you could remotely release her.
She's not gonna be smart enough to get out of there.
I wonder what they did in this case. I don't think I read anything about that, but it's a tiny island. Do you think they let people take their pets?
No, I think once it gets to a certain point, they don't let you go in there. So do you defy that and go in on a foot?
No, I'm saying if you're evacuating, would you just would they let you take your pet?
Well, how are they gonna stop me?
Because if you're on a tiny island and they're like, here's the ferry to evacuate, you cannot take an animal on the ferry.
Oh, you don't have to get off the island. You just have to go to where the lava's not gonna be. So it's actually fairly easy for a human to get away from it if they got enough time, just not a house.
I'll just
I'm
take
going.
the animal.
I'm going back for my cats.
Yeah, I would too.
And
I would
after I get my cats and I come out of there, I'm also going to be dripping with guns. So it's either me and the cats or you.
You just just shoot the lava.
It would just splash onto your face. You'd be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." Oh, what
a headline this is! What a horrible day to be literate.
You just did a remodel. How fancy did you go with your toilets?
Me?
Yeah.
Upper middle of the road.
Not electronics, though,
No.
right? What about a bidet?
I did put in provisions to be able to do a bidet, but I did not actually.
So you got your water line. You're just waiting. What about you going to heat it?
Water line and electric, yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is
So-
technically a code violation. You have to get a variance for that.
So when the time comes, you could just go ahead and pop one of these right in. You'd be one of the early adopters.
The smart toilet era is here. Are you ready to share your butt print with big tech?
Anal print. That's how I pronounce that. That's how you say that on YouTube. Anal print.
So yeah, this is talking about the new era of smart toilets and how it can figure out if you're getting enough fiber or not or whatever and that kind of thing.
But more importantly, more than one person in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to know who's pooping.
Just put a fingerprint reader on the wall next to the thing.
Or get a QR code tattooed on your butt cheek.
Yeah, some people keep those journals next to their toilets, like the poop journal. This is like a high-tech version of that you never forget to write in.
Yeah, and they're saying that they'll be able to monitor not just consistency, but color and all kinds of things to give you a heads up.
If you're starting to get sick.
Oh, it's exactly the same model as the one in the bathroom here upstairs.
What, you mean the one at your house?
Mm-hmm.
One of the plans that they have for possibly doing this is based on your poop. It's going to recommend recipes.
You definitely need more fiber.
So that's amazing. But it's a privacy violation, so I don't think I'd ever be comfortable having one of those. Right? Unless I knew that it couldn't get out anyway. But it's going to be Wi-Fi, right? You're going to run Ethernet to your toilet?
There is a connection there, just in case.
Oh, wow. We laugh about it now, but people in 20 years will be looking back and be like, what's the big deal?
I'm just hoping that it's like, oh, you should have put fiber in more places. And it's like, it's probably fine.
Was that a pun?
Put more fiber in.
Fiber, because the network, and then also fiber because you eat it.
Do you know, I don't know if all the countries of the world have this. It's probably a pretty American thing, right? But at Christmas around here, some people go to incredible lengths. They outfit their home with lights and animatronics and music, and some people even do it with an FM transmitter. Mm-hmm. So you can pull up, turn on your FM radio, and hear the song that the lights and the animatronics are working alongside with. It's crazy. This story is if a horrible person did that same thing, and not for Christmas.
A family says their neighbor plays recordings of racial slurs and monkey noises, but police say that that's not criminally actionable.
I'm going to call BS on that.
What?
If they live in a city, especially.
Yeah.
Were you saying BS that they did it, or BS that it's not criminally actionable?
That it's not criminally, because there are usually noise ordinances.
Yeah.
In cities.
Well, I don't know how loud this is, though.
Loud enough if they can hear it from their house. I would say probably actionable.
In your city, the noise ordinance is 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So as long as you're not doing it in those hours, you're fine. Wow. So here's what happened here. This is crazy. He took, clips from movies and songs and stuff like that, but in such a way that they are incredibly racist. And this family, obviously it's a black family that moved in next door to him. And so whenever they leave the house, he plays something related to who you are. So it's not just these neighbors. All of the neighbors have their own custom sounds that happen whenever they leave or come back. Now here's my question. Is he monitoring this, or does he have image recognition on their cars?
That's terrifying to think about.
Either way, it's not a good situation.
Also, couldn't the family bait him then by coming in at a late hour so that way that he breaks the noise ordinance and then it could be actionable?
Unless it's completely automated and then he turns it off. Something tells me he's the kind of guy who's dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
What?
He knows exactly. I mean, you don't do something this aggressive and this crazy unless you have a high confidence, right? Or unless you're just completely insane.
You could be completely insane.
But he does have a high level of technical skill. It's a dangerous combination. But yeah, the police are like, he's just playing sound effects. Really not much we can do about that.
Wouldn't that be considered at least harassment even though?
But he's not directing it toward anybody. He's just playing noises at his house.
It's definitely enough to be unsettling.
Yeah. How long before he escalates that? Because no one...
Yeah, I was just thinking, what's the most likely, escalation?
Well, you could definitely probably, I don't know. Depends on where they live. Some places in America you wouldn't be able to do this, but some you would. You could maybe count on a jury nullification, right? Just beat the living daylights out of him. And when it comes up in court, be like, yep.
Yeah, I did it.
I did it, and here's why. Here's why you should not prosecute me for that.
Well, they could find something equally... See, I don't know that you could beat someone who's that keen on being a jerk. but like maybe you could find something equally like petty revenge.
That kind of personality, though, is going to keep escalating.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a winning game there.
Also, I think it said they've been there for a year maybe, so they bought at the top. They can't even sell out right now. They'd be selling for a massive loss.
That sucks.
Elizabeth Holmes, the trial keeps playing out, and we keep getting more and more horrible revelations.
It's a lot of weird stuff.
Elizabeth Holmes wrote personal notes to herself about becoming Steve Jobs as Theranos collapse began. That kind of thing doesn't work out well.
I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt because they said that the book titled Becoming Steve Jobs came out right around that same time. I think she was just giving herself a note to buy the book. But she made a lot of notes, and of course she wore that turtleneck all the time because she worshipped him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that's the one thing that I could never love about her.
Turtlenecks?
No, the fact that she idolized Steve Jobs.
Oh.
But all this stuff is coming out, and it's painting more and more of a portrait of a very disturbed woman.
I like the one about talking the former Secretary of Finance off of a cliff.
The cliff being, hey, is this all a fraud? Should I abandon this? Yes, you should have.
Oops.
We have a new world's richest man. At this point, it's just a leapfrog competition.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, now the world's richest person, told Forbes he's sending Jeff Bezos a silver medal. It's number 2 with a silver medal around it. And I feel like this is only going to... Like, we've been getting reports out of Blue Origin. I think we have some of those in the nonsense section about an unhinged Bezos. And I think that's only going to exacerbate things.
He gently puts down the silver medal. You know, he's sitting there. He's thinking about it. He steeples his fingers. He hits the speakerphone button. And he says, Jeeves, we're going to have to build a bigger space dick.
Demonetized.
We already got it. It's already gone.
Do you think, do you think that when they're sitting around and doing all this stuff that he's like, oh, if I hadn't gotten divorced, there's no way that he could touch me. But I remember when we were talking about it, and it's like, oh, he's only going to have $70 billion after the divorce. Will he ever recover? And I think we have our answer. That feels like that was like 3 weeks ago.
He's back to 200.
Yeah. I mean, what is going on with the crazy economics of this world? Workers are more productive than ever, and yet everything is collapsing around us. I'm freaking out.
But wouldn't that mean that he would be real close to $1 trillion at this point?
They keep getting this kind of press, and I'm like, you guys are really pushing it in the court of public opinion the more you do this.
I think the McKinsey thing earned him good PR, right? Because he didn't contest it at all.
Yeah.
He was just like, here you go. Here's half the
No, I
money.
think it earned her good PR because she gave a lot of that money away. I don't know that it did anything for him.
But if he would have gone to divorce court?
Yeah, or fought it, or been weird about it.
But he also he cheated on her, so it's like, now that's all public. And then he did the Blue Origin stuff. People don't like Jeff Bezos.
Well, yeah, it's tough to be likable as the world's richest man, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another group of people who aren't very likable, politicians, especially city council, because they don't have a lot of power and they're usually really addicted to it. These folks in particular, I think, are because when it comes around to a time when one of them might be replaced, they've found a little workaround.
Hamilton councilor job is too hard for the general public to apply, the council says. Council voted Wednesday in favor of a process that will appoint someone to represent Ward 5. And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound
Who gets
good.
to appoint?
Oh, the existing people.
Oh.
Gosh.
That's a problem.
That sounds a little bit like what Jinping and Putin are doing.
Oops.
So yeah, they pointed out a lot of the arguments, and this goes back to the whole job interview thing, right? One of the requirements is they're like, no, you have to have government experience. You can't do this job without government experience. And then the other side was like, there is not very many lower government jobs than this. Where do I get experience?
Yeah.
If not this. Not even going to let them be a part of an election. Are their names pronounced Landry?
I think
I
it's just
assumed
Landry.
laundry. Oh.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Someone will correct
Engagement
us.
challenge, yeah. But the pretty blonde girl that everybody's freaking out about because she's dead. Well, they're still looking for her boyfriend. Is that what he was?
Yeah, boyfriend.
And the real, like, for a while it was just the cops and the FBI and stuff, you know, the losers looking for him, but now the real professionals.
Dog the Bounty Hunter has sent a canine unit. There's 3 of them. They left on boats to go to an island where they got a tip.
3 of them and dogs.
Mm.
I haven't seen an update to this. I don't think he found them.
Probably
No,
not.
I don't think so either. It was trending for a while that Dog the Bounty Hunter was involved.
You think that guy's alive?
Probably.
They did go to the campground. The parents did. And signed in. Why would you sign in?
That's weird.
Everything about that is weird. The whole case is strange.
Well, a little bit of wokeness eating itself. I love these. God, I love these. And RGB, or RBG, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I also say RGB when I see her initials.
Everybody's favorite dead Supreme Court justice. Not everybody's, but a lot of people's. Back in the day, back in the 90s, she had some interesting things to say that were very feminist. And these days, they're evil?
ACLU chief has apologized for altering Ruth Bader Ginsburg's quote with gender-neutral language.
So, it was a very epic quote, and when they reprinted it, they said, that's going to trigger some people. We better change it.
Decision whether or not to bear a child is central to a person's life,
Woman.
to their well-being,
To her.
and dignity. When the government controls that decision for
Women.
they are being treated as less than fully
She is
a fully adult human responsible for
her.
own choices. Oops.
That was the ACLU, and they took a lot of flack from the RGB fans. They promised not to do it again, but at the same time, in between the lines, they were kind of like, we were right. It's you that's wrong. And another terrible, terrible.
I read this and it was just like, oh no, someone tell them this is not.
Here's what you have to do. And for some reason, like this is, you cannot fight this logic, and yet they do. Just change the adjective. If you change the adjective and you're just like, oh, we probably shouldn't say something like white affinity housing program. That's going to raise some eyebrows. If you can change the adjective and it sounds horrible, it's horrible.
Washington University creates segregated housing specifically for black students.
Change the adjective. Don't say it, but change the adjective.
Is this like a scholarship program or?
No, it's 1 floor of a dorm. But here's what they say about it. And they do this, I think, just to make it legal. You don't have to be black to go there. But can you imagine the asshole that just shows up? It's like, here I am. I'm the yogurt-covered raisin. Because they will not welcome you. I guarantee it. Remember we have the one person in the Twitch chat who is constantly trying to get us to use these tobacco products.
Yeah.
And I don't get it.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, not this
Yeah.
particular one, but just general tobacco products.
When I was a young man, I've always been very curious about the world. I'm the one that watches the beheading video just because I'm like, I wonder what that's like. And then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Now I'm going to have nightmares.
That's really
I'm
bad.
going to have to eat an entire half gallon of ice cream to offset that.
But I had the same thoughts about tobacco, and I tried both cigarettes and this stuff, and I remember thinking, that's horrible. Why would anybody ever do that? And then other people who use the products, they were like, oh no, but give it 2 weeks. It's going to be amazing. It's like, you're asking me to spend money and health,
Yeah.
spend health points for something that I have to learn to like? Why would you do it?
People are lodging nicotine pouches in places they definitely do not belong, but I fear not speaking because of the thing. Health experts warn it can cause skin damage and lead to addiction. Well, yeah.
But here's the thing. The same blood-brain crossover, you're not going to get more in those places, right?
No.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah.
So, do you have to choose one orifice to get cancer in?
It shouldn't be one of those.
I don't know. Would you rather have your mouth or those?
How about just don't do it?
Maybe that's, maybe if you're being an informed consumer, you look up the remission rates on the cancers of each orifice, and then that's the one you pick.
Is this article from Philip Morris? I feel like this article is from Philip Morris.
But these are kids doing it. So, like, you really
They're on
have to want it.
WebMD looking that up.
Yeah.
What a weird, another terrible day to be illiterate.
Yeah, it's astonishing. Now, remember they have the thing where they would soak the tampons in vodka?
Yes.
But you get something out of that, right?
Yes.
You feel the effects of it in a big way. Tobacco just doesn't do that.
No.
That doesn't make any sense. Oh, well. Krista, you've abandoned the van life because, you don't follow your dreams.
That might be our title. Something to do with abandoning.
Abandoned. We'll forget that by Tuesday. But
here's the thing about it. What if you could have done it all along and just let somebody else live in it?
vans being used as illegal Airbnbs found on NYC streets. Vehicles are impounded.
Now, the New York City police went as far as to call this fraud. I don't think this is fraud. I think this is really clever, enterprising people. If you own a parking spot, or if you're entitled to use a parking spot, and you want to put a van there and let somebody live in it, that sounds very entrepreneurial to me.
It's an Airbnb is a limited stay though. Like you can't stay there very long, I thought.
And there's also going to be rules about living in a parked van.
Yeah, if
waste management becomes a problem.
that may be against the rules, but it's not fraud.
Now, what if we took it out to some public land?
Then it's probably okay because you can deal with the waste.
But is it okay with Airbnb?
Actually, can you rent a van on Airbnb?
Here's the other problem with that, right? Airbnb, one of the
I've
things
never seen
about
one.
like trusting Airbnb is they always know where they can find you. But that takes that away.
Because you could just drive it. I think
Right,
most
yeah.
of these are immobile though, or they don't give you the keys. They just give you the door
The
key. They don't give you the
experience.
engine key.
Yeah, but if you have a terrible experience and then it's like, oh, let's go back and talk to that guy, and then it's just an empty lot. I guess they'd have payment info.
Yeah, you'll still be able to get a hold of the renter or the landlord.
Well, when it comes to dangerous jobs, like firefighting is up there. Working in a sawmill, that's incredibly dangerous. Some of the just really insanely dangerous jobs, I don't think any of them hold a candle to Chinese civil rights lawyer.
Civil rights lawyer Chang Wai-ping tortured after speaking about past torture. And oh boy, it really does sound like torture. And then his lawyer was like, do we really have to...
His civil rights lawyer.
Yeah, to do that? And then he was taken again.
And specifically warned, be careful what you say to that lawyer. Now, I don't know what this thing is, but I'm terrified of just the name. 6 days and 6 nights in the tiger chair. What is the tiger chair?
It's a chair. You're naked. And the chair, like they whip you first and they smother the chair in Tiger Balm.
I don't think that's what it is.
Might be.
So the U.S. prisons have a chair, which what it does is like your feet are under you, buckled back, and then your hands are behind you, buckled back, and you're reclined back like this,
Oh.
and you can't move. Then they put the spit mask on your face, so you just. You guys ever seen the diving bell and the butterfly?
Mm-mm.
Wow. Metallica fans will understand that reference. That's what it looks like. It's a horrible thing. But I don't think they're allowed to leave you in it more than like an hour. So 6 days and 6 nights sounds pretty bad.
Sounds like a violation, yeah.
Seems
Well,
like a good way to get a blood clot if you're forced to sit like that for.
That's American laws. China probably doesn't have that thing. And people have died in those chairs, absolutely.
Yeah, that is definitely a human rights violation, which seems like he should... Like, the irony there is like, should we not? Maybe it's like, this is really bad. And then it's like, oh,
I
well,
think it's like crucifixion.
yeah.
Because like you can get into a position where you just can't breathe. And then you're dead. Well, rabies. Rabies is one of the most terrifying diseases in my mind because it makes you really thirsty, and I hate being thirsty. Like, that's how it kills you.
You're also afraid of light.
Yeah, terrible, terrible thing. So when you get it, you should definitely go ahead and let them treat you because it's really bad.
A man died from rabies after waking up to a bat in his room. It was Illinois' first human case of the virus in nearly 70 years.
I woke up with a bat in my room a few years ago, and my landlord laughed at me. And I said, "Are you going to pay for my rabies shots?" And then all of a sudden they were like, "We'll send someone out immediately."
Look at this guy.
They are cute.
That one looks kind of evil.
Well, he's angry. He's being held.
Am I being detained? So yeah, they could have saved this guy, but he was like, "No, I don't want your He was old. I think he was in his 80s.
Did they give you a course of antivirals after?
Yeah, he was in his 80s. Found the bat on his neck, I guess snacking on him.
Oh.
Declined post-exposure treatment, died. They went back to the house. There's a whole colony in there.
Sort of horrifying.
Let's just let the bats have the house, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you guys have won. You killed him, you get the house.
You guys have won, and most of you probably have rabies.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
What do you want me to set the thermostat on before I leave?
It's forever. Just leave forever.
Now, Krista, you are, you're big into the survival scenarios.
Right.
So if you are hiking from the U.S. to Canada and you run out of potable water, what is your first move?
Like, and there's no streams or anything?
Right.
Set up a solar still.
Wrong. What you do is you look for pools of urine.
Right. Hiker allegedly boiling bear urine to drink started fawn fire. I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that she was boiling bear urine.
Oh, well, I don't know if it was actual bear urine that she found, but she found a puddle of something, and she decided to boil it. She was not able to start a fire. That's how bad she was at survivalism. Or at least she wasn't able to start a fire quickly. But then after she had left, the fire got started.
Ooh.
And then California burned. Do you prosecute her? She's criminally stupid.
Well, it depends. Was she in a situation where she needed water to survive? Like,
Oh, yeah. She was severely dehydrated when they found her.
okay, so she was lost.
Yes.
Then they might not. If she was just like hiking out for a day and was like, man, I really
Nope.
need water, and then she just started a fire when there's a burn ban, then she would be liable. But if it was an emergency, they might have mercy, maybe.
She was attempting to hike from California to Canada with no supplies.
Wait, was she doing the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail?
I don't know.
With no supplies.
No supplies. That's not doable.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Like, you have to carry some stuff on your back.
That's just terrifying.
Resupply in towns.
Admitted she was trying to relieve her thirst when she found a puddle that contained the animal bodily liquid. To purify it, she tried boiling what she collected.
What did she boil it in?
There's a lot of unanswered questions
Yeah.
here.
How can she be hiking
Well,
with
she
no
contacted
supply?
the authorities when she saw smoke, so it was like, oh, maybe I did start a fire.
8,595 acres burned because she is an idiot.
It doesn't sound like she was she was dehydrated, but it sounds like it wasn't like oh crap, I got lost and I'm trying to find my way out and I have to boil water. It sounded like, yeah, like I'm an idiot and I didn't take precautions I should have.
Also, crazy eyes. You can't tell me those are not crazy eyes.
I'd probably be a little crazy if I drank bear urine too.
She didn't even manage to drink it. She didn't even get the super bear powers.
Well, that we know. Has it been a full moon since that happened?
Oh my God. You don't want to be her cellmate.
Yeah, when you find out she has super bear powers.
And our final story is one that I fear is going to end in tragedy. How can this happen? It's too delicate.
William Shatner, beam me up, Jeffy. He's going to space with Blue Origin. So this is a TMZ article. But yeah, William Shatner and Jeff Bezos are going to do a thing. Now, Shatner shopped this to Discovery. Discovery turned him down. They couldn't work out deals of the production. But Shatner's going to do this. And it's probably going to be a video or some kind of thing where Shatner makes a bunch of money.
They're shooting a documentary.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to shop it after they get back. What those documentary filmmakers are hoping is that he dies.
Oh.
Because imagine.
Jeff
Also-
Bezos, do you think Jeff Bezos, what's the better scenario for him? He survives or he dies?
Can we really blame, well, we can blame Jeff for letting it happen, right? But that raises a question of, can we restrict who goes into space?
Oh, we had this story about how NASA was saying that Blue Origin was just like not possible for them to do anything safely.
Oh, yeah. I
Oh.
put stories about that, but maybe they didn't save when I added them.
Did you put it in the comments?
No,
No,
I put it in
it
the
was in the
list.
list.
Yeah.
Which section was it?
I think the links were messed up on a couple of them, but that's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, there's been a lot of
It was the NASA
spats
lawsuit thing.
between Bezos and Elon, and then there was also spats between NASA and Elon, or not Elon, but Bezos.
We'll have more of that story stuff next week. But Yeah, NASA didn't really paint a really particularly rosy picture.
NASA went kind of nuclear in that post about like Jeff Bezos is public enemy #1 as far as we're concerned.
Or just Blue Origin, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, there are the technology. They were immediately going to ask for a delay, and then Blue Origin was like, well, yeah, we were going to ask for a delay because we didn't think that was reasonable. It's like, but SpaceX is ready to go.
Yeah. Well, then there's the argument about, like, if we're doing this to increase how well and quickly we get to space, when is that working against us because they're just fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was what NASA, because they were like, we depend on public goodwill and like to be able to get our stuff through the contracting process. And if anything holds us up like this, public will fades and then no one wants to go to Mars.
And then the funding is reassigned.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So Shatner's going to go into Earth orbit. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You mentioned, like, should we determine who goes into space? Aren't there pretty strict health requirements to be an astronaut?
Well,
you're going to have to climb a ladder, right?
Yeah.
You think you can do that?
Probably.
Well, they make you do, like, the vomit comet and, like,
they're not.
Check your health, like, make sure your heart's not going to explode or you're not going to have a bout of appendicitis or something.
You cannot put William Shatner in a centrifuge. You can't do it.
He gets around pretty good for a 90-year-old, but yeah. I wonder if, you know, because some of those early documentaries, he was, you know, like, I'm not all about the Star Trek, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if some part of him is like that thing that I didn't like early in my career. Like, one of the final things of my existence is going to be going into orbit, maybe, or at least attempting it. And
what if he thinks he's going to die?
Well, I mean, you know, whatever that is, I wonder if it's like some sort of like spiritual thing, or if he's just like, yeah, the fans are going to be super into this. I'm going to do it and go out with the last hurrah.
Yeah, I mean, waking up every day at 90 and you just want to die. Everything hurts. You know, you're bleeding from all of your organs. And you're just like, yeah, pop me in there, and I don't want to come back. But it'll be horrific. You want to know what it'd be like if you put William Shatner in a centrifuge to test him for 4Gs or whatever? Put a jelly donut in your dryer. Turn that on. That's what's going to happen.
It's just going to be jelly everywhere.
We'll see you next week. Be sure to check out that Linode link.
Bye!